Wondery Plus subscribers can listen to Crime and Sports early and ad-free right now. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts.
In the depths of an Atlanta forest, a clash between activists and authorities ends in tragedy. I'm Matthew Scher, and on my new podcast, We Came to the Forest, we expose the hidden truths behind a shootout that left one activist dead and countless lives forever changed. Binge all episodes of We Came to the Forest ad-free on Wondery Plus.
Hello, and welcome to Crime and Sports.
Yay!
Oh, yay indeed, Jimmie. Yay indeed. My name is James Pietragallo. I'm here with my co-host.
I'm Jimmie Whisman.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We are excited, as usual, for more craziness. Back to the normal format this week of the athlete doing dumb shit. Not someone around him, killing a decent, what seemed like a decent guy, which was what happened last week with the Lorenzen Wright episode. That was wild. This week, just a lot of crazy in this episode. We're going to get into a bunch of cocaine and
oh, yeah,
80s and coke and all sorts of fun shit. So there's a giant parrot mascot involved. The whole thing's crazy. A cocaine snorting parrot mascot. It's awesome. So
B12 up your nose. I like it.
Oh, you know it. So quickly, before we get into that, just want to say thank you, first of all, for your reviews. They do help a lot, whatever app you're using there. Just if you could throw however many stars you can on there, it helps. Also, go to shutupandgivememurder.com today, right now. Get your tickets for the live shows upcoming. There's one Crime and Sports live show that has tickets remaining, and that is in
Thursday in Seattle.
No, that's Small Town Murder. No. Crime and Sports, I'm talking. It's a show in August in Sacramento. The other ones are sold out.
Damn near a year away.
Small Town Murder, we have two shows left in this calendar year that are still have a couple tickets left. Brea Improv and
almost gone,
close. And the first Seattle show. There's two Seattle shows. The Thursday night show still has some tickets, so hop on those, grab those, have fun. Patreon this week is amazing. Amazing. This is the week, everybody. If you've been waiting and going, I don't know, this should do it for you. First of all, anybody over the $5 level or $5 or above, you get access to everything. Both shows, Patreon bonuses. You name it, if we make it, you're going to get it. First of all, for Crime and Sports' episode, you are going to get the World Bodybuilding Federation. And it is a treat, man. We watched some of the 1992 championship with Vince McMahon. Oh, God! Oh, look at him! While people are posing. It's amazing. Incredible.
The commentary is just you guys. It's crazy.
It's amazing. And we talk about the downfall of this, where Vince McMahon thought people would want to pay money on pay-per-view to watch men pose. It's a very odd thing.
But we think people will pay money on Patreon to listen to us make fun of that.
That's exactly right. And hopefully you will. And then for Small Town Murders episode, the most requested one we've got, I think, so far, Scott Peterson in that whole case. And we went over everything, his whole interrogation and his interviews and everything like that, to let you know what we thought of him, of the whole thing.
And I was convinced before this that he didn't do it. And after one little theory, you could subscribe to find out what it is.
The pizza theory.
It's
the pizza.
Small theory.
The risky business theory.
It yanked the wheel the other way.
I'm telling you got to check it out. Patreon.com/Crime and Sports. And you're going to get a shout out because, God damn it, we do appreciate you. And we'll let you know at the end of the show by having Jimmie mispronounce your name. So that's how that works. If you want to donate on PayPal, you can do that using our email address, crimeandsports@gmail.com. There we go. Let's get into this, Jimmie, right away.
Okay.
We have a lot of 80s crazy cocaine lunacy to get into. With we're in baseball this week, so we're going away from brain damage, but still into. You would think when you hear his story, you go, "Oh, did he play football, or was he a boxer in his youth? Where did he get brain damage from? Because something's wrong here." Rodney Grant Scurry. Rod Scurry. Rod Scurry. Do you know who that is? He's a pitcher.
Expos.
No, not at all. Pitcher in the 80s. He is part of the the whole Pittsburgh Pirates cocaine scandal of the 80s.
Oh, is that right?
He was the cokiest of the cokeheads of that whole team.
Oh, boy.
And that's saying something on that squad because that they were like, it was like Utah in the winter there, just buried in snow. That place was wild. So he's kind of the cokiest of them all, of this whole group. And some of this information, by the way, of certain things comes from the Pittsburgh 7, which is a really good book that I recommend for anybody out there. There's an audio version. It's good shit. That's the whole Pittsburgh cocaine thing that happened here. We'll touch on it here, but we're going to have to do a whole episode on the Pittsburgh cocaine trials because it involves all the sports.
That much?
Oh, it's a huge thing involving tons of players and a whole deal. We'll get into the parrots involved. It's crazy. It's fucking crazy. Parrot is involved here. But Rod Scurry, born on St. Patrick's Day, March 17th, 1956. He was born in Sacramento, California, but he grows up in Reno, Nevada.
Oh, boy.
Sheriff's Department, Reno and Sparks. So it's
just it's a beautiful town.
Oh, it's a beautiful town. And imagine what it was like in the 60s and 70s because it feels...
Oh, God.
It feels like it's the 70s now. So I don't know what the hell it felt like back then, but it must have been interesting.
Oh, man. James, that town's probably grown since then.
Yeah.
You would imagine in terms of like building and population and such. It had to be just a rancid piece of shit in the 60s.
I bet it was nicer, though, because there's no meth.
Yeah.
Meth has just destroyed these, rural mountain cities.
Shit apart.
So I'm telling you, man, probably it was a lot nicer. His parents here, Preston and Betty. So he's got a mom named Betty. That's a very 50s. Sounds very 50s Mad Men. So he right away, always an athletic kid. And he's got brothers and sisters. He's got a sister named Lisa, brothers Randy, Rick, and Richard.
And Rod.
Which isn't Rick short for Richard?
It is.
So how the fuck are you Rick and Richard?
And why would you do that to your kids, those two? And then why would you have Randy and Rodney? No.
Randy, Rodney, Rick, and Richard.
You can't do that.
That's tough. Yeah, that's a tough one, but that's a lot of kids. And the boys, all four R's here, all four of the boys are very shy, as we'll talk about. Not shy to not do things, but they're not big talkers and big they're very introverted people. I don't know
a lot of personality.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on with the family, but they're very, very quiet. These
tiny place in Reno. I can't imagine the. Stereotypically, you imagine that's just a lot of beating of the children. They're running to Reno because they're wanted elsewhere.
Well, we figured Reno's the last lawless town.
There it is.
We came here.
They've outlawed child beating everywhere else.
Oh, man, that was my bread and butter. They
don't know how to raise kids down there in the big city.
My bread and butter. Sacramento wasn't having it, but Reno, red carpet Reno, we call it. Rolled it out for us now. He's that's so funny. And
likely not a great childhood, right?
I mean, I don't know. It seems like it. They seem very happy from what I understand. Really? They're just quiet. I think that's also cultural. I don't know where the family's from.
Yeah.
I was just watching on the bonus episode of Scott Peterson. We were talking about body language and things like that. And I was watching the Stephen Avery interview where the body language guys were talking about him. And the one guy is a European guy, and he didn't know anything about Stephen Avery, really. He didn't really... whatever. And he's just like, one thing I'm noticing in this interview is he's got his hands tight to his sides. Like he's really holding himself in, trying to keep himself together, blah, blah, blah. And the one guy interjects and he goes, I got to interject one thing here. He goes, that's a cultural thing. He's from Wisconsin, Germanic background. You don't use your hands when you talk. Hands to your side when you talk, or else you're considered like, oh, man.
He's crazy.
What are you, Italian? Get the hell out of here. What's wrong with you? So
that's a good point. And I know I knew a lot of families growing up that were very reserved, and I just assumed that there was some awful shit going on in their house. But
sometimes it's just like that.
Just good people. They keep to themselves.
And it's where you're from because, when I watched the movie Napoleon Dynamite, which I despise with every fiber of my being,
I love it.
When I watched that movie, I'm like, is it on on your podcast app you can put it at 3/4 speed, and you're like, it's almost right, but that's what that movie is. It's like, is this at 3/4? quarter speed? Why are these people moving so fucking slowly? They're talking slowly. They're moving slowly. I can't take it anymore. And that's what it is. They're just, and then I knew people who are from Idaho or wherever the hell that's for, North Dakota or whatever it was.
It's Idaho.
And they're like, that's exactly how people are like there. I'm like, how do you not blow your brains out?
100% like that.
That's fucking crazy. I can't, you know me. I would be losing my mind. Can we hurry the fuck up there?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
People do just sit on a stoop and look at the grass.
Oh, my God. I can't take it. It would drive me crazy to live like that. I can't do it. I can't do it.
Shit with the zero talent to doodle.
I'm going to doodle anyway.
They just do it. So, how are you going to get better, James, if you don't doodle?
That's true. You should try. I guess try to improve.
Yeah. I'm
the type of person, too, where I can, like, tell if I'm going to be decent at something when I try it.
Yeah.
And if I'm not going to be very good at it, I'm not going to do it. Like, what am I doing this for? I don't want to suck at something. That's right. Not fun.
I've got a mangled left hand. I know that there are people that do things that like play guitar and stuff, and they're missing digits and shit. It's not for me. I can't do that, and I'm never going to learn because I know that I'm incapable. I don't know I don't understand it. I don't know how that does that. I'll be impressed if you can.
I did the same thing with music. Any type of music, I'm like I'm terrible at it. I can't get it. So I
don't have whatever that is.
I haven't picked up a musical instrument since I was 12 because of that. Because there's no fucking point.
I love the drums and I can play them, but I can't play things like pianos. I'd love to learn to play that. I don't know why. There's too many keys that do the same thing. I don't get it.
This one's so close to this one though.
Right.
That's so close. How do I know which one to hit?
Why do I have that one if that one exists?
Give me like 5 keys. Can we do? Is there a child's Casio around somewhere?
Right. I can play that.
You give like a toddler. So Rod, as a child, he is always into baseball, and he's a lefty, by the way, which is a big reason why he keeps getting chances as well, because he's a lefty. If you're a left-handed relief pitcher, you know, you can just pitch forever. I mean, Jesse Orozco and Terry Mulholland, those guys pitched till they were literally in their late 40s because they're lefties. If you can throw strikes, you can do it.
There's not a lot of lefties in general. Yeah. And then if you're talented enough to throw hard with that to a very small target, you are an anomaly, and we will use you forever.
Left-handed pitchers are worth something. So he would stack mattresses against a backyard fence, stack them up to throw pitches against it so he wouldn't destroy the fence, and
draw a square on it and pitch at it
for hours, which I fucking did that too with a ball on a wall or a thing.
Sure.
Everybody did that. There was a post office in the Village of Wappingers. I used to throw the ball against the wall for fucking hours, and hours. He would work on his curveball big time. He was trying to be Sandy Koufax as a young child. If you're a left-handed pitcher in the 60s, you want to be, Sandy Koufax, one of the top 3 lefties of all time, probably. So not too shabby. He would, and this is something he would do at home and at school. Teachers would think, and his family too, would think he was like hard studying, like head in the books. I mean, really, like, wow, look at him. He's focused, he's really into that book. Then after a while, they'd notice that he doesn't turn the page ever, or,
Still on that first word.
He's looking all up and down and around, and he's moving his hands around, but the page itself stays open. Then they all realize he's not reading anything or doing homework. He's in fact studying index cards that he'd organized in his own scouting report on opposing batters that he was going to face at school leagues.
Man,
where he was
dedicating yourself that much to baseball, you're going to be successful.
Yeah, the goddamn major league teams didn't put together scouting reports like that back then.
Right.
Literally in the 60s, they'd have a meeting, and they'd talk about, this guy or that guy. What about that guy? Anybody have any experience? He doesn't like the inside stuff. All right, throw that guy inside. That was a scouting meeting with that.
Wow.
I mean, now it's all computerized, and they can show you to the, percentage where this guy hits the ball better, keep it from here. But back then, you had to do that shit on your own, and he was doing it as a child. So
fascinating.
It's impressive, actually. And he said that his brother Rick said that, quote, he was the best. he would always get mad at us because we wouldn't catch for him. Yeah, so because he's throwing really hard. And his older brother, that's his older brother Randy talking, and he said he could throw a pitch that would curve between a batter's legs. His curveballs, like it would start over the plate and end up between your legs. That's how fucking vicious this thing is. And I've seen him throw this curveball. His curveball's one of the best curveballs in the history of baseball. Period.
Wow.
Period. When it was right, it was the 82 season. You can put it up there with Sandy Koufax as that type of curveball. The guys compare it to Steve Carlton's slider, which is considered the most devastating pitch in the history of baseball. Steve Carlton's slider, giant lefty hard slider like that, like Randy Johnson's was the same way.
Yeah.
So, they said that quote, he would never let me forget that. He said about the pitch that he could do that to him and fuck him up like that. And his father said he was also a really skilled marksman with a rifle as well.
You would think so, yeah.
So he's just good at any projectile thing and putting it where he wants it.
Whether it's arm speed or powder, he can do it.
His father said, quote, he was one of the best shooters I've ever known. That boy sure could shoot. He was the greatest. So, I mean,
good eyes.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. He went to Reno's, I went to high school in Reno at Hug High School, H-U-G.
Hug?
Need a hug. And he did very, very well all the way to the state AAA baseball final series. So the state championships for the 3A.
Was the mascot the Bears? It fucking better have been. Or they
that would have been amazing. That would have been perfect. Perfect. You can't get any better than that.
How do you blow it like that?
Maybe they didn't want to encourage dumb people to hug bears.
Possibly.
People in this area, they might not be bright, and they might just say, we should hug bears now. I mean, Mike Tyson wanted to fight a gorilla, so you never know what people's inklings are toward animals, really. A friend of his named Bob Oliphant, who was a high school teammate, he said he was a couple years older than me. We played together. He was very quiet. He had an enormous amount of talent. He had the talent that all of us wish we had. The Major League Scouts were at every one of our baseball practices and at all the games.
How cool.
That's cool. That's also stressful when you're 16.
Sure, but
cool, though.
If they're not
People
there
care.
to see you, take advantage of that shit they are sitting and watching the game because, listen, man, serendipity is a thing.
Everybody's going to love that. Yeah, there's a lot of guys that got found while people were looking at somebody else.
Sure.
That happens all the fucking time. From what I understand, that's the first scout that really noticed Jerry Rice. They were looking at somebody on the other team, and they're like, who the fuck is that guy that keeps scoring touchdowns?
Fuck that guy. I want that guy.
So, yeah, they were... a lot of pressure at Hug High School. There's an article I found by a guy named Steve Martirano, who was a high school teammate of his who then became a journalist later on. Oh. And he lost touch with Rod. They didn't really keep in touch or anything, but he's going to kind of touch on his life a little bit here. He recalls that during the summer of 1971, so Rod's 15, it was the 15-year-old Reno Optimist All-Star team reached the state championship game in Elko. Oh, exciting. We get to go to Elko?
All the way to Elko.
Oh, man, all the way to Elko. Oh, this is going to be good, man. I hope Grandma can make it. I'm proud. Which, I had a state championship for anything is impressive as fuck.
It sounds horrible. What a trip.
I don't want to go to Elko for it. He said that at this point, Rod was probably the team's third best pitcher. He was 15, so...
Okay.
And he took a 1-0 lead and a no-hitter into the top of the last inning.
Wow.
So he had a no-hitter going in this game and a 1-0 lead. And he had 2 outs with a no-hitter going, and he hit a guy. Hit a batter. So now he's got a guy on base. And then eventually, after a tough at-bat, a guy hit a 2-run home run off him.
God damn it.
And 2-run lead there. And they had to stop the game for several minutes because Rod started crying on the mound. He lost it.
I would too, man.
He lost it. Yeah, he was like a fucking hitter.
The high school kid doing great and blows it. Fuck.
Yeah. It's one thing if the whole game sucked or you got bombed on or, you got hit up in the 4th inning, but to have a no-hitter going with 2 outs and then get it ruined, not only ruined by a home run, but then the lead's gone too. Sucks.
Erases everything.
He also was an amazing hitter. That's the other thing. He was crushing, as a lot of high school, they're just great athletes. A lot of high school pitchers Rod Beck, my friend that you know, and there's going to be this. There's a lot of parallels here with Rod. I'm not even kidding. And so if I am a little bit, I don't know,
biased, sensitive,
not biased, not even sensitive, but if I throw in a defensive Rod Scurry once in a while, you have to understand that this hits very close to home. This is a
place of love.
I'm not kidding. A mustachioed relief pitcher named Rod that had some drug issues and all this stuff. That was a real nice. I mean, it's. Even we'll talk about it at the end, but there's another parallel that is disturbingly close. So this one was like really like a punch in the gut doing the research on this one. I'd rather just do the episode. I wish I didn't have to do the research for this episode. So he hit a home run over 500 feet in high school.
Wow.
Which, guys in the majors, there's a select group that hit
level shit. Yeah.
Select group that hit 500 footers. That's not everybody. That's
incredible.
That's long, and his coach measured it out and everything else.
Also, you'd think that granted in high school being able to hit that because the pitch is coming slower, so you've got a better way of seeing it.
You got to provide the power.
Right. when it's coming fast in the majors and you do that, the speed coming at it helps it go too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So I think it's more impressive as a high schooler to hit that.
Oh yeah, that's all but it's also with an aluminum bat probably. Actually, back then I don't know. Back then, maybe. In the early 70s, everybody was probably using wood. I don't even think
was aluminum invented yet?
I think it was invented, but I'm not sure if gloves were. They still played with milk cartons on their hands back then, so it's a very different game.
I just don't know what the manufacturing was of aluminum back then. If they had that many bats, or if it may have been just wood. I wouldn't be surprised if it was just wood.
I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. So they said that he used to strike out 14 guys on an average day when he pitched in high school. He had a lot of games of 18 or 19 strikeouts, which is
sick.
A lot of strikeouts. He always knew that he was going to be in the majors at some point, but he didn't know if he'd be a pitcher or a hitter because he was a good hitter. I was saying the parallels. Rod, when he was younger, obviously a great pitcher. He went on to be, 287 saves is pretty fucking good. But
he went on to still today have his face on the side of the Giants stadium.
It is. It's awesome too. I went and got a picture with it when I was there. So he was also an amazing offensive player. He and Todd Zeile were Los Angeles County's top offensive players of the year in his senior year of high school. So, awesome. And Todd Zeile was a 15-year major league hitter, a position player. So pitchers can hit usually in high school. They're just really good at baseball. He would run to school at 5 a.m.
Wow.
5 a.m. or 5:30 a.m. He'd run to school so he could get his exercise in and do all his shit.
Still got 2 hours to go.
Yep. He would run to school so he could throw in the gym before school started. He wanted to get a couple hours of throwing in before the school day started. He was voted shyest boy in his high school yearbook.
Oh.
And also his brothers were also voted shyest boy when they were all in school too. Isn't that weird?
Oh, God.
Yeah, not at the same time.
Can't do that.
Yeah.
Which one is it?
Very, very weird here.
That's wild.
So 1974, that article from his ex-teammate, he said he can remember scouts who came out in huge clusters of 1974, 10 or 15 of them behind the backstop every time Rod was pitching. Wow. So it was like a zoo, it turned into a crazy place. And every time all this shit, they said they would measure back in the day, the scouts that went to high school didn't have radar guns. They were, you get them from like the highway department. So
sure.
They didn't really have those. So they would do it with stopwatches, which is insanely inaccurate.
How would you?
An insanely
inaccurate. Press it when he releases it and then
press it again? Yeah, there's no way.
What the? No.
If you could do that, then you could hit it probably too, because then you could react to it at the same speed it's coming in. You could probably be a major league hitter at that point. So what are you doing this for? Yeah. It's ridiculous. So that's how they did it, though. Everybody loved him, and they all talked to him, and you're going to be great, you're going to be wonderful, and all this shit. So he knew he was going somewhere. In May of '74, he's the Nevada 3A Player of the Year, and on the All-State team as well. So not too bad here, and takes Hug High to the 3A State Final Series, and has a 1 no-hitter and 3 one-hit games.
Get out there and hug him.
Jesus Christ, he is killing it, man. They ended up losing, though, 2 of the games to Rancho High, which Marty Barrett played for. He used to play for the Red Sox for years and years and years.
Was he on that team then?
He was on that team, yeah,
wow.
Playing against them. And one of the guys, a third baseman for the team for Hug, said, for us to go to state, it opened doors to show kids they had an opportunity. It showed us maybe there was a way out of here. Maybe it was athletics or academics. A way out of here.
Sounds like a great place.
You know you're in a great place when kids are like, there's got to be a way out of here.
If it takes baseball, I'll do it.
I don't give a fuck. Or academics, something. I just need to get out of here. So I found an article in the paper from 1974 from the Reno, Nevada paper here. Rod Scurry gets another honor. And it starts out, Rod Scurry does it all. That didn't go unnoticed by the coaches and sports writers who named him State 3A Baseball Player of the Year. So he threw a no-hitter against Reno High and 3 one-hitters, including one against Rancho, when he dropped a 2-0 decision in the opening game of the 3A tournament. So he was killing it. He's crushing shit. He apparently went 6-4 with a 1.13 ERA.
Okay.
That's not bad. That's pretty fucking nasty stuff there. So he's doing really well. Player of the year. His coach was named Coach of the Year, which
that's bullshit.
It's easy to be Coach of the Year when you're like,
that's not fair.
Go out there and throw that curveball that breaks between people's legs and strike out 16-year-olds who have homework to do when they're done with this shit.
Hey, keep doing that shit that nobody else on this team can do.
Yeah, do that. Can you do it again tomorrow? Great. Back then there was no like innings limits back then either. The kids, if you had a great kid, he pitched every game. That's it. Period. And he pitched all the time.
Hilarious.
Coach of the year. Oh my God, that's.
I love
funny.
when even the Super Bowl winning coach gets Coach of the Year, and it's like, well,
yeah,
I get that he achieved at the highest level, but let's look at that team.
Let's look at the team. Yeah,
not him.
It's even better when it's Manager of the Year in baseball because football, your scheme is important. How you react to how they're playing defense. In baseball, it's. Well, I think that pitcher's going to be better. You can't adjust, bring that guy in a little bit. We'll pinch hit in the 7th. But generally, it's just, well, this is our team. Hopefully our team's better than their team today. There's not a real lot of adjusting.
Your arms crossed, too.
Yeah, that's it. That's why I did it.
That's a management move.
That's managing. See that? All right, then.
Arms crossed.
That's all you can do.
Got leaned on a fucking chain link fence.
There's an art to it. I get it.
Yeah.
There's managing personalities and things like that.
Yes.
But you have to do that in all the other sports, and you have to manage minute to minute in the game a lot more in baseball and basketball and football than you do in fucking hockey too. I would imagine. I just don't know that much about it.
I just think that anybody that gets coach or management, anything that's in the overseement of the team, they should have a fucking personality. I don't want a drip winning because it just encourages drips.
It's boring.
Dusty Baker's a great coach, but he is fucking boring.
He is. Well, you know what though? Well, as we'll discuss in this episode, because his name's going to come up quite a bit.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, Dusty Baker might be boring now. That's just because he did a lot earlier. He used to be...
He's all tired now.
He used to love his cocaine and everything else. So,
shit!
He's better off being boring. We'll put it that way. Let's just be happy.
Dusty is a nickname for the coke. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, he picked that nickname up later in life. So
terrific.
The guy who played with him that wrote that article talks about on the night of their senior prom. And he said they were leaning against a car outside of someone's house. It was some after-prom party going on inside. They didn't even go to the prom. They had to skip it because they had a baseball game. So they played for the city championship that night. So they were there. And they said they were just feeling good, drinking beer. His life couldn't be better at this moment in time. Like, he's got the whole world in front of him. The draft is coming up in a couple weeks in baseball. He's expected to be a high draft pick. And he said, quote, this is Rod's quote, I just don't think it will ever feel better than this, is what he said.
You're probably right, Rod.
You're probably
You're about
right.
to have bills and shit.
Yeah. I mean, it'll get a little bit better because it's not, he also said this guy worked with him at the Prima Donna Casino where Rod was a sandwich maker. So he was also doing that in high school.
He had it made in the shade, James. And if I had known everything I know
free sandwiches
now,
too.
Like, yeah, working at a pizza shop or a pizza place, free pizza. Granted, it was shit pizza, but it was awesome. I'd make them like not put a topping on something that called for a topping, so that when the pizza comes out, it's fucked up and we can't sell it.
Oh, whoops!
That's whoops-a-daisy.
Oh, you said sausage. Sausage. Fuck. Okay, my bad. I thought you said pepperoni. I apologize.
We'll eat it. Don't worry. It won't go to waste.
I thought you meant half pepperoni and half no. Okay, well, fuck it. That's okay.
I heard pepperoni and jalapenos because that's what I was craving. That's my mistake. Don't worry. We'll take care of it.
Internal voice. I worked at a really good pizza place in high school. It was amazing.
What a dream.
It was the best. It was so good. The food was amazing.
To shit pizza on a fucking Triscuit.
That's, yeah. Where you worked is
so bad.
Not great. So there's an article about him before the draft in the paper there. Reno is monitoring his every move. He is Reno's number one son at this moment in time. He is Jim Dangle, walking proud and tall. So
Junior, babe.
He really is. He kind of
hubris of the junior.
The hubris of the juniors. The article says Scurry will be sitting by the phone, and it talks about how he'll be sitting by the phone, ready to take the draft call. Yeah. Back then, you'd have to sit by the phone on draft day because if the team called you had to be there to say, I want to, thanks, all that bullshit.
Paycheck.
He said that he's waiting to find out what team has drafted him. He says, quote, everybody says they want to draft me. All the scouts come. We're looking at you, son, and all that shit. Yeah. He was saying it's, he's very excited. He said he would definitely turn down scholarship offers from college to turn pro. He said, I'm not going to turn down what they're talking about paying me. So, yeah. If you're 18 years old and, you don't come from tons of money and, you take the money. You don't go to college and risk hurting yourself and all that shit. So,
see, aforementioned, there's got to be a way out of here.
There's got to be a way out of here. And here it is. Especially if you're going to be a first-round pick. If you're drafted in the 12th round, maybe go to college. But if you're first-round pick, you're getting guaranteed money. You're getting a bonus. You're getting stuff like that. You take it.
And that ring is the best way out of here.
That's it. I'm out of here, fuckers.
Answer the phone. That's all I got to do. Fuck yes.
I'm in. So 1974, Major League Baseball amateur draft. Jimmie, number one pick overall.
74? Sweet Christ.
You could put together just letter combinations until you die and you'll never guess it.
-7 years old.
Yeah, I wasn't born anywhere near there. But
is the guy's name Marv?
Nope. It's Bill Allman.
There you go. It's close enough.
And he played at Brown University, which is like Ivy League, so that's very odd that he would play there.
Bill what?
Bill Allman, like almonds without the D.
Like the Allman Brothers.
No, like almond, like an almond.
ALMON?
Yeah. Like the nut. Tommy Boggs, number 2. I don't know if that's Wade's brother or what.
Wade's dad.
Lonnie Smith is number 3 overall. He actually played, Lonnie Smith. I remember Lonnie Smith. He played for a long time. He's an outfielder. Number 4, Tom Brennan. Number 5, Dale Murphy. Dale Murphy was a great player for the A's forever. Remember him? Or not the A's, the Braves forever.
I was going to say Phillies.
Remember he had the upper deck card where he had like the reverse image in 1989. It was like a big... had one of the big errors. It was that and the Billy Ripken bat. Remember that?
Yeah.
So
remember that one. I want that one.
that one was cool. Ron Scurry, number 11 overall. The Pittsburgh Pirates take Rod Scurry.
Is that right?
Number 11 overall. Yep.
His name is very close to a disease that pirates catch. That is fantastic.
And it's going to the Pirates. We've got Scurry.
Incredible. Got the Scurry.
Scurry. Who else? Gary Templeton, Lance Parrish, those guys. Willie Wilson. There's a lot of players.
Okay,
Rick Sutcliffe. A lot of ball players in that first round. A lot of guys who, had long major league careers. So he said that he was, obviously over the moon to be drafted.
Jacked. Fuck
yeah. A friend of his, or one of the scouts said, quote, I remember in 1974, he was head and shoulders beyond the other kids baseball-wise. He had an aura, a flair. To me, he had that Bo Belinsky kind of confidence, the swagger. He's an old pitcher, Bo Belinsky. I remember looking at him knowing he would be a player, a major leaguer. So
who said this?
A scout that saw him.
Which so horny for him.
That's what I mean. They sounds like Vince McMahon calling the WBF events. Oh yeah, look at all that. Oh baby,
Just a whole bunch of, oh, yeah.
At one point, he just goes, "It's getting hot." That's my favorite one. It's getting hot. As a man poses.
Right.
It's amazing.
Getting hot?
I'm not even saying this to like push the Patreon make money. I just want people to hear it because it's amazing. But it's so fucking hilarious and ridiculous. So anyway, he's that good, like where people are looking at him and knowing who he's going to be. Another guy said that he, quote, "I think Rob Ritchie benefited from it," who's a guy who ended up being drafted later on. He was at school, at a school that had a major leaguer. I was an assistant coach at Hug when Rob played. I told Robbie, "This happens. A guy can go from Hug High School to the major leagues," and Robbie made it too. So he's now just like this icon. He's getting one of the Junior brothers got out.
Hell yeah.
These are the Junior brothers because I picture them on the couch outside watching NASCAR, falling asleep.
That sport has gotten fucking horrible.
It's
I'm just telling
they
you,
stopped turning too now.
Unwatchable.
Is it just
absolutely unwatchable?
Is it just a 500-mile straightaway now? Is that
no? They're doing playoffs, James, and they had it this weekend, and so I watched a little bit of that, and I was just like, I can't believe people, honest to fuck, reserve a day for this. This is horrible.
Fucking hillbilly. I can't believe this.
I tried so hard.
It's so like I'm trying to be a hillbilly and they won't let me.
I am like just ingrained in that culture. That is in me, and I tried. So maybe it's not. Maybe I'm rinsing it out. I'm diluting it.
Somebody make a fucking something, a Photoshop Jimmie into the Junior brothers on the couch. Make him right over Travis there, right in the middle, one of those.
Or a face in the sea in the stands of NASCAR saying, "This is terrible.
This is terrible, but I'm here anyway for some reason.
We should leave."
So
perhaps it's all the like not American beer I've been drinking. I've rinsed all that out of me now.
You're done with it.
Yeah,
you're done with it. So he didn't want to go at first because he didn't want to be away from home. He liked being home.
City, way far away.
He liked being home. Also, this all happened very fast. His father, Preston, says, quote, "He was drafted on a Tuesday, graduated on Thursday, and had to go to Florida that Sunday night."
Wow.
That's a lot. That's a big week. You have to, on Tuesday, you're graduating high school and you're going to have to move in the next week, but you don't know where.
Yeah.
You're going to have to pack up and go somewhere. No idea where. That team single A could be anywhere, Right. Fuck. I mean, you don't know. So he said, "I'll never forget that expression on his face when he turned around and looked at his brother Rick. It was a feeling of family devotion. He just hated to leave home." And he said, his mother Betty said, quote, "It was horrible. He wanted to play ball, but he did not want to leave home. After he signed, he said, 'I'm not going. I can't leave home.' I said, 'Rod, Pittsburgh owns you now. You have to go.'"
You're theirs. I don't know what to tell you.
They bought you. And you said, "Cool," and signed a fucking thing.
Yeah, they paid the dowry. You can't be here anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. And they said,
in the 1980s, a rosé swept the country.
Hey, Mike, I really like this White Zinfandel.
Well, good. Now put it down. I'm going to try another one.
White Zin became America's top-selling wine. But most don't know that this sweet drink has a sour history. What began in 1986 with counterfeit bottles,
a big fraud, a multi-million-dollar fraud,
sent investigators chasing one of the most powerful families in the business, the Licciardis. But the closer the feds got to them, the more dangerous things became. It's a story of deceit.
At the time, I was paranoid.
Threats.
"You touch my kids, I will kill you."
And murder.
With a .22 caliber bullet to the head.
What started with a scheme to mislabel wine spilled into a blood-soaked battle for succession. Welcome to Bloodvines. You can binge listen to Bloodvines exclusively and ad-free on Wondery Plus. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify. In the 1980s, a rosé swept the country.
Hey, Mike, I really like this White Zinfandel.
Well, good. Now put it down. I'm going to try another one.
White Zin became America's top-selling wine. But most don't know that this sweet drink has a sour history. What began in 1986 with counterfeit bottles,
a big fraud, a multi-million-dollar fraud,
sent investigators chasing one of the most powerful families in the business, the Licciardis. But the closer the feds got to them, the more dangerous things became. It's a story of deceit.
At the time, I was paranoid.
Threats.
You touch my kids, I will kill you.
And murder.
With a .22 caliber bullet to the head.
What started with a scheme to mislabel wine spilled into a blood-soaked battle for succession. Welcome to Bloodvines. You can binge listen to Bloodvines exclusively and ad-free on Wondery Plus. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify.
For years, it would be like this. He'd come home, and every spring he didn't want to go back, and then, he'd go back. He's a very, lonely guy. He's a guy who likes to have people he's comfortable with around him, which was another reason why it was hard with the Rod parallels of the two Rods, because that was like Rod's thing, is he hated to be fucking alone, man. I'd be at his house hanging out, and we'd be having a good time, and then I'd have to wake up with the kids in the morning and shit, and I'd see it's like 2:30 in the morning, and I'd be like, all right, I am gonna get going. I didn't even realize it was 2:30. It was like a casino in there. We're having a ball.
I'll make you another daiquiri.
And he's like, oh man, you're leaving? That's what he'd say. Oh, you're taking off? Oh man, all right. Cool, man. That's cool. No, I understand. Like, he'd be like, dude, he just was lonely, and it's one of those people. So I totally get that. So yeah,
a lesser man would have killed his family and stayed with him, James.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a credit to you, bud.
Yeah, it is. I'm a good guy. I didn't abandon my family and stay at this
just
weird,
to hang out with the MLB. That'd be great.
Just hanging. We got a good time. Good times, man. So, he says his brother Rick says, this is his younger brother Rick, he says it was just as hard on us as it was on him. Every time we went to the airport or when he was driving, everybody cried. That never changed. So he would call his family in the first couple years as many as 3 times a day from wherever he was.
Jesus.
That's how lonely he was and homesick. And he made friends on the team. It wasn't like he wasn't talking to people, but he just missed his support system.
It's not the same. It really isn't.
Yeah, it was. His self-confidence, too, was, not that great when it came to that kind of shit, too. He would kind of, even after the games here, he would retreat to his room.
Really?
Rather than go out and hang out with the guys, he'd go call his parents. You know what I mean? So it wasn't the same. One of his friends here said, quote, that's a lonely life when you live on the I'm sorry, this is his dad. I apologize. That's a lonely life when you live on the road out of a suitcase a week or two at a time and you get back to home to a lonely apartment. He said, it was hard on him, and he gets it because his dad used to go on the road to sell wholesale stereo equipment. So he said, I know what it's like to do that and it sucks. And he said also about, they're comparing him to Sandy Koufax, which is a lot for a kid.
It's heavy.
He said, this is his dad, quote, so you've got 2 things to do. Sit there by yourself or go out and raise Cain. And you're in the public spotlight being compared to guys like Koufax. It's a fast-paced life and tough on a boy just out of high school put in with grown men who know he's looking to take their job. And you've got guys there who he looked up to that were doing things and giving him a bad influence. Okay. Which is true. You got an 18-year-old kid. He wants to be a ball player like the other ball players. So what they're doing, he'll do. It's not necessarily trying to steer the kid wrong. It's just that they're going to run with you.
That's the lifestyle, right?
Yeah. It's like when you have a kid in the 9th grade, you don't really want them hanging out with seniors because you're like, they have a different life than you.
They have a car. You don't.
They are adults and you're not.
That's a big difference.
Yeah, or almost adults anyway. A lot of them are 18. So Chuck Tanner, who will be his manager later on and was a manager forever in the league of multiple teams, he said, quote, when I first saw him, I said, nobody can hit that curveball. He's better than this league, because he saw him in the minors. He's like, he's better than this. He then said his curveball reminded him of Sandy Koufax. Again, he said the Scurry curve was sharp and quick and went down at the end. When he had that thing going, that's why I thought he'd be one of the best in relief I ever managed. So everybody had him pegged as a fucking future monster. So another guy here, the Egan guy, the scout, he remembers the curveball. He said, quote, "It was a curveball comparable to Steve Carlton's slider. Carlton's slider was unhittable. Scurry's curveball was unhittable. It was too big for umpires to handle once the hitters learned to lay off it, because it was such a big curve, they wouldn't even call it a strike, even though it landed in the perfect spot. They're like, wow, let's start it over his head. I don't know how the fuck that happens. I can't call it a strike." This guy said it was so big, it would go from 12 inches on one side of the plate, cross home plate, and go to 12 inches of the other side of the plate. Wow. That's a sick curve. A lot of guys' curveballs are straight up and down. Yeah. That's, the guys who have that crazy straight up and down and then it's got that dip off to this, that's nasty. I don't know how you make that happen. That's how Sandy Koufax made a fucking living. And it's also why he quit when he was like 31, because his arm was destroyed, because you got to put a lot of torque in your arm to make that shit happen. That's because it's an overturn you're putting on it, over the top of it. So he said it would cross the home plate, but umpires refused to call it a strike. They would say the catcher They would say that the catcher caught it a foot outside. You're like, yeah, but it crossed over the plate when it was over the plate. It just has great late action. He said, unfortunately, a lot of his off the field stuff affected his on the field play, and he couldn't achieve his full potential. Summer of '74, his first season in baseball. He's doing great. He's pitching well, and he hits .295 with 5 homers also. Wow. So, yeah, they don't know what to do. They're like, holy shit, this guy's awesome.
He's hitting almost 300 with 5 homers.
Yeah, and he's not hitting every day. He's pitching and then having a day off after pitching, and it's pretty impressive. He became also their top pitcher and was named to the league's All-Star game as well down there. So he said it was good. He said, quote, I feel really good about my first season. I'm dedicating everything to baseball. I haven't had time to worry about college or any other things. Mm-hmm. So he's into it. So he's sent back to Florida to play in a winter league there that year. And he gets invited to big league training camp the next year, which is just come in and we'll cut you in 2 weeks, but you get an idea of how this works for next year.
You see how this works. We see what you're capable of.
Yeah. Right. That's it. So he went there. He said, and this is a pretty big schedule, he said, we only had 1 day off all summer, except for the games that were rained out. But baseball is all I've ever wanted to do. That's what I'm happy doing. So he said, but the change in environment, he said, I have a lot more freedom and I've met a lot of people, but it hasn't been that big of a change. This is what he told the newspaper. He's not going to say, I'm lonely, I call my mom 3 times a day.
This is a nightmare. I'm not prepared for this. I'm fucking tired. Yeah.
I don't have the social skills to handle this yet. Like, I'm only 18.
Fucking crazy.
And I was shyest boy in school last year. I got problems here. But it came off as, the way his coaches described him, as cool and reserved. They were like, he's cool, he's laid back. They said his confidence in his pitching was pretty obvious, and then off the field, he didn't have that much. He said, I'm not worried about making it right now. I think it's just a matter of time before I get onto the major league club. So he said that then. He goes all around, meets a guy named Don Robinson, a fellow pitcher who will be on the Pirates with him later and plays a big part in his life, as we'll talk about here.
Did he play elsewhere after that? That sounds familiar.
Yeah, he played all over. And then I think he was a coach, too, for a while.
That's probably why.
Yeah. Now, Robinson was drafted the year after him, and so when this guy ends up going to the majors first, which makes Rod go, what the fuck did I do?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He, matter of fact, he got mad because they let Robinson hit. They were letting him take batting practice, and they say they only let you take batting practice when they're preparing you to go up to the majors because you're going to have to hit in the majors, so they let you take BP. So he was pissed off of, why don't you let me hit too? I want to prepare. So he said that, it was bullshit, and he went to the team and got very fucking mad, and he said that they said that it actually came down to the fact that Robinson is slightly faster a foot than you. It's nothing to do with your pitching.
Oh, base running.
Like major league teams take fucking relief pitchers based on their base running abilities. No, they tried to bullshit him.
Okay.
So he said, that's bullshit. I'm faster than him. I demand a race. I'm showing you I'm faster. I want a race. So they said, okay, I guess we have to let him have a race. So they had a race, and he ended up winning. So there you go. He was like, see, I fucking told you I was faster than him. So
poor Don. Don's like, no, you're fucking this up, man. I just want to go.
I just want to go up there, man. So 77, he had a 3.30 ERA, 3.88 and 76. Does pretty well though. 78. He's 78's not too great. What is it? 571 one place, 466 in another. Okay. So he's trying to do well though. In 77, in front of a bunch of scouts, including Hank Aaron was there, who was working for the Braves at this point. Yeah, awesome. In player personnel. And also the Pirates pitching coach, so his major league team's pitching coach, Larry Sherry. Scurry threw a no-hitter in his AAA debut. So that's something. That's announcing your presence with authority. Cool. Yeah. So he said that a paper in Nevada said he was just a hair away from the big leagues, and didn't want to hurt anything to hurt his chances. He's doing wonderfully. He's on the cusp of Sandy Koufax-esque greatness. Grace.
As fuck.
That's Grace, my friends.
Oh, the poor bastard.
He was on the way, my friend, on the way.
Yeah, but James, this is what happens to when you compare somebody to the greatest ever. Or one of. You know what I mean? This is why LeBron looks like shit a lot of times.
But I was just going to say, the only guy who's ever handled that pressure and been what they said he was going to be from 18 years old, from less than that. You can say what you want. I know some people don't like 14, LeBron. But LeBron James has been having his games on national television since he was a fucking sophomore in high school. That's that kind of pressure. You can't even calculate what that is. And in high school, imagine yourself at 15 having the pressure to perform on ESPN, and Dick Vitale's going to talk about it afterwards. Right. Like, that's a lot. And I guess all that pressure is why, that one time when, he got busted for beating up the strippers, and then when the cops caught up to him after the high-speed chase, they found all that coke in his car. Remember that one time with LeBron?
I don't remember that.
No, because that never fucking happened. That's what I mean. He's never... but then there's that time. Remember, he got sued by like four of his baby mamas for child support because he didn't pay it for his 12 kids that he has with 9 different women. Remember that? He's been married to the same fucking woman and has a fucking nice family. This is what I mean. People who
can't live up to that pressure usually.
No,
it's so hard. And
it's so funny because he's become a big lightning rod for whatever reason you want. Right. Pickett, people say, oh, he doesn't win as much as Jordan, and they don't like his politics, and he should shut up, and whatever the fuck they say.
All that shit. On a team with all these big stars, whatever you say.
Tell me anybody who's had that pressure from that age and fucking fulfilled every drop of it all
the way through,
with never being fucking off the rails is what I'm getting at. Right. I'm sorry, but it just doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Michael Jordan had the gambling scandals and all the cheating and all the women and all the paternity suits and all that shit. He had all that stuff going on, and what I mean?
The only guy, James, that I think may compare to it in terms of being at a high scrutin level for a long time, but nobody talks about it. Larry Fitzgerald was groomed for years and years and years.
But he's not the face of the league.
He's not.
He never
was.
He's a possession receiver for the fucking Cardinals. So that's not. You know what I mean?
He's now retired.
That's what I mean.
Silently retired. And was so quiet.
And that's not anything against Larry Fitzgerald. He's a great player and a nice guy and everything that you could want.
Ever.
Everything that you could want in a human being and a football player, apparently. But, he didn't have that kind of his games weren't on national television when he was 15. He didn't have any pressure till
never.
He was on the Cardinals. He never had any fucking pressure. What are you talking about? On the Cardinals.
Went to a shit organization.
Who cares? Yeah. He showed up to an organization that hadn't won a fucking playoff game since the 40s. Literally. There's not a lot of pressure on him. There really wasn't. So anyway, 1979 in Portland. He's a AAA up there.
Yeah.
He starts hanging out here. He starts being a little more social. Starts hanging out with the fellas a little more. And I mean, he's in his early 20s now. He's not 18. He's starting to get more comfortable.
A little less impressionable, a little less shy.
Exactly. A guy named Craig Kasich and a guy named Gary Hargis. They start hanging out. And every night they're drinking a bunch of Henry Weinhardts, pounding them back.
The fuck is that?
Northwest beer.
Okay.
Northwest beer, Henry Weinhard. They're pounding them back. They drink, 12-pack each a night after the games. And like minor league ball players do, if you've ever seen a movie about minor league baseball, watch Bull Durham. It's more in a bar than on the field. That's what they do. It's more scenes in bars.
They're competing more over women than they are the fucking championship.
They're shit-faced and all the time here. So, but Rod still wasn't happy. He missed his family, and he's trying to drink to kind of just dull it at night. You know what I mean?
Babe.
And a lot of people do that. But it wasn't quite catching him.
Not enough.
Wasn't enough. He started saying, I need something a little stronger, maybe a little more.
Something.
I need to feel it. And later on, he will tell Sports Illustrated, quote, I remember the first time.
Oh, boy.
Here it comes. I went fishing at 5 a.m., and I had 1 gram of cocaine with me. I just wanted to try it. Yeah. This is something I've never heard before. We've heard a lot of stories of people starting coke use, and I've known, can't even tell you, countless people who've done coke. All of them start with, my friend had some coke, and he put it out, and I said, I guess I'll try it, and then I liked it, and then I did it a couple more times, and then like 2 weeks later, I bought some for a Friday night or something. That's how it always works. This guy was like, I think I want to try some coke. Let me buy some. That's the weirdest thing I've ever heard. Like, somebody offered him to buy some, like, you looking for any shit? And he was like, you know what? I'll give it a look-see. Yeah. What do you got there? Pass it over. I've heard good things.
Depends. Have you got coke?
I've heard good things, This is the weirdest shit I've ever heard.
For that shit is really working.
Yeah, he was shopping for it. Like, give that a shot. Like, I've seen this shampoo. That girl's hair looks real shiny on that commercial. I'm going to give this a look. Why not?
Yeah, that herbal essence, that chick's coming in the shower. I'll give it a run.
I guess fruit in it is the key, or whatever. I'm going to put this all together. Yeah. So he had 1 gram. He said, I just wanted to try it. It was kind of like having your first beer. Not really.
Nope,
a little different. The stuff I had that day wasn't that good. I wanted to try something better. So he had a gram. This is the other thing. He had a gram, and he said it just didn't really do much for him. It wasn't that good.
Made me shit my pants. Not good enough.
I had that drip in my throat.
Yeah.
So rather than him going, I guess I don't like Coke, he's like, let me give that a shot and get better Coke next time, which is like, I've never heard of someone really trying to get into drugs. That's the weird thing. It happens by accident. You've never seen a person try.
He's forcing himself to love it.
Yeah. It's like back in the day, I read this one book, and they were saying, this woman was talking about, she was like in the 40s, and she said, this was happening and that was happening. So my doctor advised me to take up smoking, which I did. And I was just like, that's hilarious. I've never heard somebody like actively try to take up smoking. Yeah. This is like he's trying to take up cocaine.
Too, from like when we were kids smoking weed and being like, I loved it. And then they try it now and they didn't like smoke it a lot in the meantime. Like me, for instance, then you get to like what it is today, and it's so much better.
It's 20 times stronger.
Like it. I don't like so much better.
That's funny.
I like shitty weed.
You seem to like it sometimes.
I do. I sure do.
Yeah, you do, fucker.
It depends, though. Like I don't like.
I know not to load
incredibly high. I don't like that.
I know not to make a salad when you're around.
There you go.
And, you don't know what that is.
I'll try your caprese, but I don't want like the fucking club.
I pack a bowl, and if it's party time, I'll pack a bowl, and there'll be several different concentrates in with the weed in there. There'll be some of this, some of that. There'll be like 4 different, and I call it a salad because it's just a. It's like a salad bar. Like this, it's vicious, and you could get the neighborhood stone with it. Yeah. So I know not to. That's like it's for pros only. Those salads. So I know not to.
Yeah, that's for guys hitting triple doubles, man. I can't do this.
You're just getting in off the bus from Reno, and you need to be eased into this. Give you a gram of the shitty stuff for some morning fishing.
Yeah, make me giggly and eating hot dogs at 3 a.m. I'm into that weed.
That's what we did. That was fun. Sabrettes at 3 a.m.
I can do that.
What do you got, sauerkraut? Yeah, put some of that on here. That sounds good.
Let's play a little.
Let's get it on. That was a ball. We were drinking beer, too. That was fun. So, we were a mess that night.
It was insane.
At 2 a.m. Now you're living my life, Jimmie. Welcome to my world. So he wanted something better. He said that he started slowly, a little here, a little there, but as the season progressed, he started up in the coke consumption. He did it. He did it. He got into it. Good for him.
Made himself an addict. That's awesome.
One thing I'll say for Rod Scurry, when he puts his mind to something, he achieves it. Whether it
really
be
sticks with it.
baseball or cocaine or something, he achieves it.
Push the limits.
He started hanging out with Dale Berra, who is Yogi Berra's son, if you don't know that. Yeah, and he's in baseball, he's just a disappointment. And
well, lesser known Berra.
Lesser known Berra, yeah. Obviously, if your dad's Yogi, it's kind of hard. He's got 10 rings. I don't know how you're really going to live up to that.
There's that. And not just the rings, but he's
won MVPs, for Christ's sake, too.
Right.
Like, he was a great player. Hall of Famer.
Adorable, tiny man. There's nothing about him that's horrible. Like he's just an amazing amazing little old man.
Yeah, everyone loves Yogi. He's just one of those guys who's just like everybody's grandpa. You know, the grandpa you want, you wish you had.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
So Dale Berra though is a disappointment and a pretty shitty baseball player, and I'm finding out why. It's because he really liked coke a lot is the problem, maybe. So they became really tight, Scurry and Berra. Dave Parker, who is a legend. I love the fucking Cobra, man. Right. The picture of him in the Pirates dugout in the 79 series smoking a fucking cigarette in full uniform in the dugout is my favorite picture in the history of baseball. Dave with that mask that he wore after he got hit in the face.
I don't know that I saw that.
Oh, my God. He wore a fucking, like a defensive lineman's face mask at one point on his fucking batting helmet.
Like a girl's softball helmet?
Bro, he's huge. He's got a black fucking helmet with this face mask. He looked like, with a baseball bat, he was so scary looking. Like, you'd be like, holy shit, this guy looks like he's here to kill me. He looks like he's a Mad Max character. What the fuck is going on here? So he said, quote, "You see Dale, you see Scurry. They were real tight." So always there.
That's what Dave said, huh?
That's Dave's thing. And in Portland, Scurry and Yogi's son here, Dale, began purchasing coke from either the clubhouse attendant. Clubhouse attendant's always the guy who facilitates this shit because it's the guy who's supposed to do whatever the players want.
Right. He's the doorman at the bar.
Go get me a sandwich, go to bring this note to my girlfriend in the stands, go to the store and pick up tape, whatever it is, he's got to do it. So also a teammate's brother-in-law who was a long-distance truck driver as well, who, as we all know, who has in the 70s, who has more access to cocaine than a long-distance truck driver. That's what it was.
And if he doesn't tonight, tomorrow he will.
So he will get it then. So according to Craig Kasich, who's the guy he was hanging out with drinking Henry Weinhardt's, he said he was also Portland's first baseman. He said a handful of guys on the club were using coke at that point. He said that same handful and a few others were also the ones always popping greenies. And we're going to talk about greenies slightly because we brought them up a lot in the past. Greenies recently outlawed are amphetamines that players took. And it was considered like you're not trying if you're not taking greenies. Like, it came from the days where they played all these afternoon games. That's what it was, where they'd go out the night before, they'd get shit hammered till 2 a.m, and then they'd have to be at the ballpark in the sun at 9:30 a.m. So it was like, to then play a 1 o'clock game or a 12:30 game. So they need some amphetamines to get going to do all this shit. So,
and people that want to if your dream would be like to play baseball and such, it sounds amazing that you get to do this incredible thing for money. But that schedule is fucking brutal.
It's rough, and especially
it will kick the shit out of you to live your dream.
Fuck yeah! And when there were day games, it was even worse when you were doing it every day and playing in the afternoon. At least now the guys can sleep in; they don't have to be to the ballpark till noon, 1 o'clock or some shit. 2 o'clock in the afternoon, they can roll in there.
But you go to your day job and sell whatever you sell or type whatever you have to type or do whatever the normal job is, that 9 to 5, by 7 o'clock, you're at home and ready to sleep. But if you play a baseball game, it ends at 7 o'clock. You think you're going to fall asleep at 9? There's no fucking way.
We know that from stand-up. You go, and even live shows at the podcast. We go do a show. you can't just go to sleep now.
No,
you're fucking
it's impossible.
Dracked to here. Your adrenaline is, you've been around 1,000 people for us, or tens of thousands for baseball players, and you got
I'm
adrenaline.
expected to go home and close my eyes and find another land. It's not happening.
And your brain has been working at a fucking rate that when you're on a stage, your brain is fucking going, man.
It's a staggering rate.
It's more than, it works 5 times more than I usually use it. So it's like, it's a big deal. When you get out, you can't just shut that the fuck off.
No.
So the running joke always was, hey, clubby, the clubhouse attendant, get the coffee on. And that meant to break out the greenies.
Yeah.
Yep. The greenies started, I guess, in the 40s. These amphetamines really started to come in. And like I said, it made sense then. Travel was harder in the 40s, too. It wasn't like it is now. Travel, buses, day games, buses, shitty fucking planes, not jets. Shitty planes that bounce around and take fucking twice as long to get places, where you have to stop to refuel and shit. It was bad. It was really fucking bad. And then it was, passed down from the majors to the minors, because this is what the major leaguers are doing. So that must be what you do to get to the major leagues. So one guy put it, if Mickey Mantle could put up 500 home runs while hitting the town every night, every youngster who came along after him would give it a try as well.
Wow.
Like, if Mickey Mantle can be fucking Mickey Mantle and he's carousing every night till 4 a.m, and this lets him hit home runs the next day, well, I'll take some too. Thanks.
Sure.
Why the fuck not? And everybody Mantle, everybody knows, would have been so much more if he took a little bit better care of himself. Just a little bit. Take one night a week off, and he would have been a different guy. But Sparky Anderson, who we all know here, the manager, ex-manager, and he's around forever, he said, in the old days, 24 of the 25 guys on every team were drunks. So,
is that right?
Yeah, just everybody was drink. You were out. That was it. You're on the road all the time, hanging out with the guys. Everybody just drank. Everybody all heard, though, that like Carl Yastrzemski famously kept a bottle of greenies in his locker, and he put a label on it that labeled it Superman. So, this turned him into Superman. Oh, yeah. Willie Mays is famous among the players for his red juice, which was a liquid amphetamine that he had a pharmacist whip up for him.
Oh, Willie.
And he would, one player from back then said, quote, there was this one thing called red juice. I tasted it one time during his last year, Willie Mays' last year, and it was real. I
haven't slept since.
I'm still awake. I haven't had a hard-on since. It's crazy. My dick just doesn't work. Also haven't pooped, so I'm a little worried about that. So I tasted it one time during his last year, and it was really nasty. Willie had this red juice. I guess the pharmacist made it for him. I don't know what kind of speed it was, but it definitely kept your eyes open.
Oh,
so that's what I mean. That's Willie Mays, and Willie Mays is everyone loves. You can't not love Willie fucking Mays. You know what I mean? Jesus, he's not even thought of as a scumbag.
No, everybody loves him. He's just a happy, cheery guy. Now we know why.
Yeah. The one guy asked him after that, Willie who? And he said, Willie Mays. I went into his locker and got it. And the guy said, Willie Mays? And he said, the great one. Yes. Yeah. Like everyone fucking did that shit. So
you mean like Maze, right? We've never heard of this guy?
We've never heard of Willie Corn.
No,
he was just a Jesus Christ.
Willie, he farms, he makes corn. Maize.
Willie Corn. Willie Corn Mays from the Iowa League. Yeah, I know him. Yeah,
not that guy. This guy's amazing.
Him. Fucking, that's amazing. So on September 1st, 1979, Rod Scurry finally is called up to the major leagues. It's been a while. People have passed by him. He started to think that he was they weren't going to want him. Right. And he's finally called. He makes it up to Pittsburgh September 1st for the September call-ups. They do not pitch him that whole rest of that year. They just bring him up to show him what it's like to be there, because they expect him to be on the team next year. He's lucky enough to sit on the bench or in the bullpen and watch the Pirates go through the playoffs and then win the World Series, which is awesome.
Rad.
That was the We Are Family Pirates team.
That'll get you a ring, right?
Yeah. I think it does. Well, they a guy like that, they'd vote on it whether you get a ring. They vote on rings and shares too, whether you get a full playoff share or how much you get. There's a big thing with that there. So 79 also. he's ramping up his coke use as well because, it's the big leagues, got to be big. Mainly because after the 79 season, he goes down to play in the Dominican in the Winter League.
Okay.
Which is very common with young players. And he's joined by his buddies from Portland, Kasich, Gary Hargis, and Dale Berra, of course, too. They're all down in the Dominican. There's no powder down there, as we all know. No, none of the islands there. You can't get coke at all in the Dominican Republic.
Nothing illicit by any stretch. Everything on the up and up.
Kasich said he liked to explore the island and try to get into the culture a little bit. He said Scurry, though, the way he put it, his interests were solely confined to baseball and partying. That's all he cared about. He said, quote, Rod was doing blow every day in the Dominican. He said that, and his performance sucked too that year. He wasn't good in the Winter League probably because he was partying a little bit too much. He said he was wild. His pitching was wild, along with his after pitching life. He said, apart from going to the ballpark, Scurry and Berra hardly ever left the house. They just sat in just doing coke. He said, instead, they called in some local girls for company and snorted cocaine. Well, I mean,
but given a choice between the two.
Yeah, if you're that age and you can have coke, food, and women brought to you, really, where do you need to go? The only reason to leave when you're that age is to try to get women to bring back and, get some food and then bring women back there, and then you can do coke. And they have it coming to them. Why skipping the middleman here?
Sounds like an L.A. comic in a pandemic to me.
Yeah. Why buy the cow when it's already in your living room? Right. You know what I mean?
It's right there.
It's right here. So anyway, he said, quote, Scurry and Berra ran around like a couple of 12-year-olds. He said Berra was out of his gourd, is what he said. He said Berra was apparently the only guy who can even come close to matching Scurry's wildness and coke fucking frenzy is Dale Berra. Is the only guy.
Penchant for fun is Dale Berra.
It is him. Didn't care about the consequences of their actions. And this was baseball becoming a huge deal. Baseball, all the sports, football, basketball, all the fucking Steelers were doing it at this point in time. I mean, everyone was doing coke. This was still coke is fun and it's not addictive time. 79, 80. This is literally
now it's fucking deadly. Forget fun.
Well, now it's not even coke. That's why.
Don't fucking do coke.
It's because it's not coke now. It's poisonous shit. It's fentanyl. So
it's murder, is what it is. It's crazy.
It's
don't
disgusting.
Touch that.
Back then, not like that. Yeah. Back then, it was, and people would say, hey, this is great to keep you up. You can drink, you can party, you can do all this. You're funnier, you're sharper, and it's not even addictive. It's great. You're going to love it. And so people liked it.
Oh, the lies of big cocaine.
Big cocaine. Big cocaine's your buddy at the bar going, dude, I've been doing it every day for 2 years. It's not even addictive. I'm telling you. I would know. I've been doing it every day. I do it when I wake up. I do it a little bit more. I keep kind of keep a level over the course of the day, and then I do a bunch and then crash and go to sleep. I do that every day, but it's not addictive. I would know as much as I do.
And since I've been doing it, I start to feel like shit when I start coming off of it.
Yeah.
I think I'm allergic to normal life, so
that's what
I'm taking more, and it's making all that go away.
It is. It made me understand, is the thing.
Yeah.
It made me understand how much this coke is really helpful to be off of it. You're like, wow, this is awful. I don't feel good at all.
Yeah.
Not even addictive. Try some.
He was hip-hop's biggest mogul, the man who redefined fame, fortune, and the music industry.
The first male rapper to be honored on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, Sean Diddy Combs.
Diddy built an empire and lived a life most people only dream about.
Everybody know ain't no party like a Diddy party, so.
Yeah, that's what's up.
But just as quickly as his empire rose, it came crashing down.
Today I'm announcing the unsealing of a 3-count indictment, charging Sean Combs with racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, interstate transportation for prostitution.
I was up. I hit rock bottom, but I make no excuses. I'm disgusted. I'm so sorry.
Until you're wearing an orange jumpsuit, it's not real. Now it's real.
From his meteoric rise to his shocking fall from grace, from law and crime, this is the rise and fall of Diddy. Listen to the rise and fall of Diddy exclusively with Wondery Plus.
Have you ever gotten a message out of the blue?
Maybe you ignore them. Or maybe you end up in conversation. Maybe they tell you about an amazing offer.
I can really show you how to make some money.
And maybe that gets you into a lot of trouble. But this isn't a story about people like you, the people receiving these messages. This is a story about the people behind the messages, on the other end of the line. Thousands of them, working in a microcity built for scammers. From Wondery, the makers of Dr. Death and Kill List, comes Scam Factory, a new series about survival at the expense of others. Follow Scam Factory on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen to Scam Factory early and ad-free right now by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts.
So here's the famous Tim Raines quote, just to give you an idea of how prevalent this is in the major leagues, and this is a famous thing here. Quote, I had it in little gram bottles that I kept in my pocket. You know, the little glass ones, little vials.
Those little guys, yeah.
Actually, a lot of times I would put it in my batting glove and then in my pocket. I was trying to find ways of not getting caught. Usually when I carried it in my pocket, I'd slide head first. So that's the old famous thing of Tim Raines slid head first because he had Coke vials in his back pocket and he didn't want to fucking break them. That's
can't go down on my thigh.
Can't do that. So 1980 Pittsburgh season, Scurry is out of major league options, which is the option system is a very complicated deal, but you can only be in the league. They can have you so long and send you up and down for so long without whether they either have to keep you or release you at that point. So it's one of those deals. You can't keep sending a guy up and down. So he had to either make the club or they would lose him, basically. So he said that one of the writers at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette said, he is at once that most envied and lamented of major league hopefuls, a player without options. If happiness is having alternatives, as more than one poet has suggested, Scurry is in trouble. Jesus Christ, that is flowery for baseball. Scurry matched his poeticness with, quote, yeah, this might be a do-or-die situation for me. Decide to keep me or get rid of me, whatever. That's what he said. So,
yikes.
Not quite as poetic, but
he's accepting it.
Yeah,
when they do that, if they release you, obviously another team can pick you up, and then they start the options all over again. Mm-hmm. But
yeah.
But when you're out of options like that, though, that's got to feel shitty, man. It's like I either make baseball or I have to take my chances elsewhere, or I get a real fucking job.
Well, nobody wants me. Yeah,
right.
Or I can go to Elko and find some work.
Then I'm back to Elko, where at least I'm a champion still.
Right. Shit. Team doesn't win the World Series this year. They go 83-79, third in their division. So. Not quite. This is a team, though, man. They got some. Jesus Christ. Phil Garner, later on a manager. Bill Madlock, Omar Moreno, Dave Parker, Dale Barra, Bill Robinson, Willie Stargell still on this fucking team. Manny Sanguin, Kurt Bavacqua, Tony Pena. A lot of guys here. Bernie Carbo, Jim Bibby.
84 wins. That's very impressive.
Yeah, Jim Bibby, Mike's dad. There, he was a pitcher. No, it is. It's his dad. Really? It's actually his dad. Jim Bibby.
His dad is Hank Bibby.
Oh, you're right. Jim Bibby.
Henry Bibby. Yeah. Henry Bibby played for the 76ers.
Yes, you're right. I'm sorry. This might be his brother, though. I think it's Mike Bibby's uncle, because I remember reading a book about with Jim Bibby came up, and he does have a relation to Mike Bibby, but it's not his dad. His dad was a basketball player. John Candelaria, Bert Blyleven, Rick Roden. Wow. This is a squad, man. This is a squad. He only pitches in 20 games this year in the 80 season. 37.2 innings pitched, 23 hits, 17 walks, 2.15 ERA. So has a damn good year, but they don't really pitch. That 37 innings isn't shit for a pitcher. No. It's really not a lot. I mean, that's the 6 months he pitched 37 innings. Think about that.
Yeah, that's fucked, dude. That's 4 games altogether total.
Total, yeah. But they said Rod Scurry has worked hard to get where he is today. He can only hope he gets other chances to show he deserves to stay. So 81 season, he says, quote, last year was frustrating. I understood the situation. They were world champions and they had to go with the pitchers who won. I wasn't thrilled too much with sitting around, but I didn't get too down on myself. So he said he's ready to go. Everybody says he's really good. Joe Niekro, famous pitcher, he says, this kid has an outstanding curveball. Sometimes a pitcher has to wait a long time to get his chance. I know how it feels. So there you go.
That's brutal, man. God, Jesus, what torture. To be that good at one specific thing and it be in demand, and then you can't even get on a team because they're champions.
They're good. Yeah, they're loaded up. That's tough. That's really tough. That's why it's like in football, like when you get drafted. If you get drafted like 29th overall, that's great. It's a team that went deep into the playoffs, but they also probably have a good roster that you're going to have a hard time making.
Got a good chance of doing some winning this year, but also that's only if you can beat somebody out.
I was going to say, you got a good chance of doing some cheering from the sidelines this year as your team wins.
Got a lot of smiles happening, but that's only if you make it.
Fuck, man. He gets his first start. He's a relief pitcher, but they start him at first here. Mm-hmm. And he said the night before he was too excited to sleep. He said that too excited to sleep, but in actuality, he didn't really sleep for 2 days before that because he's been on a lot of coke, and I'm not even kidding about that. His pitching coach, Harvey Haddock, said, quote, "You don't need to sleep when you pitch. I did it many times in the days when we rode trains between the cities." So that's a little different. He's been doing coke for 2 days.
Yeah, you can't sleep because you can't sleep on a fucking train. Who can sleep on that uncomfortable shit?
No shit. So it's by this time that Rod Scurry and the pirate parrot become friends.
The guy that plays the pirate, obviously.
Yeah.
The parrot, yeah.
Kevin.
It's not a real bird, right?
No, it's not a 6 foot tall bird.
Okay, all right.
That they let go near children. He's not dangerous. Don't worry. No, he won't peck his soft spot. It's okay.
Right. Giant parrot with coke all over its face.
He could fucking crush your skull with one chomp of his beak.
Operating a razor blade with its fucking wing.
Coked up to the fucking gills. Or to the wings in this particular case. His name is Kevin Koch, or Coke, or Koch. It could be anything.
I want it to be Coke more than anything.
That's me too. So Kevin Coke. That's what I was going to say too. Same thing. They apparently Randy Brandt and Rod Scurry met in the minors in '74. Brandt married Coke's sister.
Got it.
That's how he kind of gets into the deal here. He's this one guy's brother-in-law, and in '79 he gets the mascot position. And we'll get into that. He said, quote, "It was like Scurry was my brother-in-law, too." He said they were always hanging out. And soon, another guy, one of Coke's high school buddies, started hanging out with them, too, a guy named Dale Schiffman. Dale Schiffman was apparently not an athlete or anything like that, but he loved baseball. But he was more of like a kind of a drugs guy and a big fan. And he was like, cool, we get to hang around with the players. This is pretty neat, Yeah. And this is before the days, like baseball players were still a status above your regular person socially and stuff like that, but not to the extent they are now, where it's like a, the baseball player then, a good player made $100,000. You know what I mean? $120,000, which is a lot of money still for then. But the guy he's hanging out with made $45,000. With a decent job too, and they could be on the same level. Now you can't hang out with a guy who's got a $400 million contract. He's not going to go hang out with regular dudes.
No,
some guy's high school friend.
Right, I can't show up at a restaurant with that guy in my 4Runner while he pulls up in a fucking Lamborghini. I can't do that. And
I feeling the things he's going to want to do on his days off are probably different than the things you can afford. It's just a different deal.
Also, the restaurant we're going to, I can't buy my dinner, sir.
No shit.
I'm going to have to work here to get it comped.
Fuck. So Schiffman and Coke were getting into coke at this point in the early 80s here, and kind of everybody was. Everybody was hanging out. Coke said everyone we hung out with at the bar was from our end of town. Everyone was into cocaine. So that's just how it was. They'd go out to the nightclubs, Coke and Schiffman, after the Pirates games, and they'd run into the players out there because they were hanging out. And, there was different VIP spots they'd be hanging out in this place in Pittsburgh. What is it? Sophie's Saloon, the Sunken Cork. I don't know if you're an old person from Pittsburgh, maybe you know what those are. They'd get into it. Coke said, quote, Berra or somebody would say, "Hey, do you guys party?" Then one thing led to another, and the players found out that Dale Schiffman could get stuff. And that's kind of how it snowballed from there. That's how the Pittsburgh 7 case snowballs. And like I said, we'll do a whole episode on it.
Schiffman starts it all.
Starts it all here. And his pitching it's good and it's bad. It's spotty through this time. For 82 is his best year, but still he has one where he gave up a home run. And he says, I just gave up a better pitch than I wanted. He said, I gave him a fastball over the plate. It was a nice pitch to hit when he gave up a home run. So he's got a good attitude. So Coke said that the players, but most of the time Scurry and Berra, began to call him before games to ask if he could grab some Coke from Schiffman and bring it to the ballpark with him when he comes to do his parroting duties. So
if they don't call him Sniff Man, they are blowing it.
Sniffy the parrot? Sniffy the pirate Coke parrot?
Call that guy Sniff Man.
No shit. So Schiffman would kind of purchase the Coke. He would cut the Coke and that sort of shit and get it out to the players. And he said he wasn't really making a lot of money off the guys at the time. He wasn't doing it for that. He was doing personal use. He just knew where to get it, and he could get it for them as a favor.
Fun to give, right? It's fun to be getting that for that status. That's awesome to him. That's fun.
It made him feel like a big shot, So he was into it. He said that also he would get free Coke when he did that. That's all. He wouldn't do it for profit. He would do it for a little free Coke.
So fun.
Which is great. He said that he would get free Coke, expand his social circles, hang out with baseball players. He thought it was great. And he gets to go out and do Coke. It's awesome. So it started with like a gram or two, maybe an 8-ball, and Coke would swing by and pick it up on his way into the ballpark.
Yeah.
And, they'd go into like the toilets in the bathroom or in some hallway somewhere next to a furnace or some shit to do it. And sometimes the runway outside the clubhouse. A lot of times in the cars out in the parking lot. No one ever noticed, like the Pirates officials, no one ever noticed that everybody on their team was doing a bunch of Coke.
Or that was by design. We did not see a thing.
Yeah, Cokie the Parrot even suspected that people in charge knew what was happening.
Yeah, they have to.
He said, quote, it seemed like no one really cared. I mean, I think Major League Baseball even knew itself that it had problems, like years before when they had alcohol problems with a lot of guys. And so after a while, Coke realized that Schiffman kept coming to the games to hang out. So he was like, what the fuck? Oh, I don't need to be the middleman here. So, what am I being the middleman? Schiffman,
eventually they just got Sniff Man coming through with the Coke?
Eventually they just, the Cokie the Parrot just said, why don't you call this guy direct? That way I don't have to do this. And he comes here anyway, so call him and tell him to bring it here. What do I need to drive around with this shit for? So, which is smart. So he does. He tells the guys, he gives them each other's phone numbers, tells them to set the shit up themselves. 81, Rod has a 3.77 ERA. He goes 4-5, which record doesn't really matter for a reliever. 27 games and 74 hits and 40 walks. So not bad. 74 hits and 74 innings pitched. Mm-hmm. So 1-1 on that is good. We'll take that from a reliever. 82 is when he really has a good year. Cokie the mascot too. A little bit, by the way, inside being Cokie the mascot here. He said he would lose 6 pounds usually for every game in sweat from this thing.
Wow.
You're running around on a humid night in the Northeast. Yeah. That'll do it. One time they put a thermometer in on a really hot night, and it was 135 degrees inside the suit.
Inside that fucking suit.
Cooking
Holy
in there.
Shit.
He lost 13 pounds that day and had to be revived twice from passing out from being dehydrated. Twice. They revived him and said, get back out there and shake those wings.
Get to number 2.
Shake those tail feathers. Let's go. Maybe some Coke. I guess if you're all coked up, you're going to pop up like, hey, like the Undertaker coming out of it, Just boom, straight up. So, he said that he was always running around and he said he loved it. The team told him if Kevin, the Cokie the Parrot, continues to work as hard as he's working now, he could make $30,000 to $40,000 next year.
Upwards of $40,000, huh?
And in 82, that's good money though.
It's good money.
In 82, that's like $300,000 a year. That's fucking great. That's amazing money.
Coke habit, James.
Well, he's going to need that money. But he was getting $25 a game before that.
Wow.
So that's a big raise. But he's also doing shitloads of appearances, this guy. He's get like anytime there's a mall opening, they get Cokie the Parrot to come and they give him
dealerships get some sales.
Yeah, they cut him $500 and he goes on his way. So Scurry, he's a quiet guy, like we said. He's introverted. He's the shyest guy in high school. And they said when he's using coke, he's even quieter. He's even less talkative. He gets which is very strange.
That's the opposite of what that usually does.
Yeah, maybe he's hyperactive and this is like Ritalin for him and it takes him down. I don't know what the fuck it is, but said he gets very quiet. He said that he would on purpose be quiet because he was afraid that he would like say something stupid because he was on coke. So he was very aware of what he was thinking and saying. And, you're all paranoid and hyper aware of yourself. He said, though, he started he was living his life in secret. He was living a double life. Nobody else knew about this except his friends. He said he started to become a con artist because he, to get away to do coke, he'd have to get out of things.
And some lying.
Yeah, he said that he, quote, got to be pretty good at it. He said he couldn't let the outside world know that, his life was controlled by coke, so he just became more introverted. That was the way to get around it. He was going out with a woman at this point that he'll marry later on named Laura, and she said that he had a really hard time dealing with stress and the pressure of everything. She said, quote, he had a hard time with pressure. I think that's why he started doing what he was doing. It was the pressure of waiting and not knowing. The drugs made him quiet, shy, and scared. When he wasn't on them, he was normal, fun, and happy. Mm-hmm. Which sounds like the opposite. Like you said, this is, if you're a quiet, shy, scared person, you do coke to come out of your shell and party and have the guts to talk to people. That's why people used to do coke in social settings in the 70s.
Right. If
you're at a bar or party in a fucking Studio 54, you do a little coke, you can dance more, you're going to be more sociable. Not him. He'd go sit in the corner and be like, oh, man.
Now I've done it.
Now I've done it to myself. I don't know if it's guilt.
He's having the reaction to coke that people have to heroin. This is weird.
Yeah, totally. It's all holed up. 82, he pitches in 76 games, 103.2 innings. So he becomes a big part of the club. Yeah. 1.74 ERA.
Wow.
So think about if you're him. What do you think right now?
Coke's the best thing that's ever happened to this game.
Whatever I'm doing, it's working.
This is the right thing to do.
Yeah, I'm brilliant because I know how to get myself ready. I know what I'm doing, obviously. I can do drugs.
Legitimate as this. Yeah,
I can party and have a 1.74 ERA. That's amazing. So it's 103 innings pitched and only 79 hits. That's great. That's terrific. So good season. He also had 14 saves as well, which saves were just different back then. So he had a great fucking season, just amazing. It was the lowest of anyone in the major leagues with at least 20 appearances. His ERA was that year. So his 103 innings pitched weren't enough to qualify for the ERA title, obviously. So he's doing really well. He's making money at this point. He's now becoming like people know who he is in Pittsburgh. He's on, his dad said, quote, he didn't flaunt his social status or ability. The public may have thought he was cocky or arrogant, but that wasn't the case at all. So that's what he said.
And he's like 28 years old.
And he's 27 at this point. He's
just a kid.
He's still young. Yeah. And he even says, like, if he had a bad game, quote, I didn't know where to turn, so I turned to cocaine. That would make it better.
Yeah.
Man.
Made me have a really great game. Coke.
Coke. It's fucking funny. Also, the San Diego Chicken, this was a big mascot thing. Like, they said they had to give this guy a raise because the San Diego Chicken went to arbitration with the Padres and ended up getting like $100,000 a year.
Good for them.
Yeah, because they were selling a shitload of merch of this guy, and I guess it was his idea or whatever. So he's like, "Hey, fuck you, people." So
also, your mascot is the personality of the team, and if it's recognizable, fucking pay that man because the suit didn't make it recognizable. It's the bullshit that they did in it.
Yeah, it's Dancing Homer. You know what I mean from The Simpsons. You got to
apart from that Phillies thing. I don't know what the fuck that is.
I don't know what the fuck that fanatic is either. I hate mascots in baseball. I don't think you should have mascots, but there's no room on the field for a mascot. It just doesn't work. Football field's got sidelines. They can run around and fuck off behind the end zone. What do you have in baseball? You gonna hang out in the dugout?
Stop the game for that thing to do anything.
Yeah, get the hell out of here. I have no need for you.
For you to run your fucking golf cart down what are you doing? In the outfield, there has to be no players out there for you to do that.
And basketball mascots are the most ridiculous because there's the least amount of room. You ever seen a college game where they're like show the bench and there's like a bunch of these players like all into the game and then there's the mascot standing like next to him like clapping and you're like, get the fuck out of here. You're not on the team. You're not on the team.
I do like the football ones in the NFL slamming their face on the goalpost when the opposing kicker kills them. They kick a field goal. It's so funny.
That is fucking funny. So, Jesus, 83, not a good season for 83. He appears in 61 games, 68 innings, 5.56 ERA. Yikes. From 174 to 5.56 is a blow the fuck up. That is bad.
That's not good.
And part of it is that he is just rip-roaring into his coke use at this point.
Now it's a problem.
Yeah, Dale Schiffman, who was supplying him at the time, he said, quote, I guess he would do 6, 7, 8, 9 grams a night.
Holy shit.
Anywhere from $500 to $1,000 a night, he said. I just saw him get so sloppy sometimes where he was actually snorting coke in bars and restaurants and coming out of the bathroom. I told him, hey, man, you've really got to cool it. Yeah. Like, you have coke all over your mustache just sitting in the booth. Like, everyone's going to...
bare hand pushing it up your nostrils at this point. You got to calm down.
Yeah, he's not even taking it out of the bag. He's just kind of...
just burying his face.
Doing one of these. Just flicking it back a little, whatever falls into his nostrils, and he goes...
like it's a shot.
Yeah, just taking a shot of coke. He said, it got to the point where Rod used to call me, and I would end up lying to him or avoiding his phone calls because I knew he had a big problem. If your coke dealer doesn't want to sell you coke, you're doing too much coke. That's a lot of coke.
When your dealer tells you, the guy that's profiting from your problem tells you, I can't do it for you, man.
Yeah. Shuffle your 400-pound self up to McDonald's and see if they say, we're sorry, it's for your own good. They're going to know. They're going to give you your food. They don't fucking
today,
care.
Man.
He said, the media portrayed me as a major dealer, which was a bunch of nonsense. I just got a couple of the ball players some cocaine. That seemed to be the extent of it. He wasn't selling it really to anybody else, but he was just like hooking the players up, and he liked to be the guy that would bring it to them because then he would hang out with them and he'd get free coke. He said, quote, I don't really feel responsible for what happened to them. A lot of the players said these drug dealers twisted our arms and made us do it. That's bunk. These were big boys. The real story is they would just hound you, call you 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'd see them out until 6 o'clock in the morning before a 1 o'clock day game.
Yikes.
So, yeah, nobody, if this guy didn't get it for him, they would have found, they're baseball players. They have access to finding it. They would have found it from somebody else and they would have got it. So,
you're just the easiest guy for them to get it from, and they trust you because you're a guy that doesn't do this a lot. So
exactly.
That's huge.
And they're a guy that you apparently don't go tell the newspaper that you're doing coke with the baseball players until later.
Trust is a big deal when you're in the spotlight.
Until later, because all those quotes were from a newspaper. So that's the difference. So later on,
that's incredible.
It becomes different. Scurry says, quote, no one ever told me you can't do that. I've always just done what I want. Yeah. And that's the problem with a lot of people. He's never been told he can't do something. Everybody's just trying to facilitate this amazing thing that you're doing. So you're never told no as an athlete. So after the 83 season, he went back to Sparks for a while there in Nevada to hang out with his family and all that kind of shit because, he likes being around his family. Right. And his father said that, it's the same every year he feels like it's that first time when he left. He can see the look on his face and all that sort of shit. So, yeah, he said it just became different. But this time when Scurry got home, he was a different guy from the year before. He ended up staying in a motel room most of the time rather than with his family so he could get high, and hang out all night because that's what he wanted to do. Just do coke all night and his family would have noticed that. So, he would get high about 4 to 5 times a week. He never slept there. He would just stay up watching TV and doing coke and then go home in the morning when he knew everybody went to work. and then he would crash out there. He said he would do everything in his power to keep from talking to people, including avoiding telephone calls. He'd just be like, now I get to do coke the whole off season.
Right.
So February of 84, this is his first real big breakdown here. He's in a motel or a hotel room. He is in bad shape. He's crying and sobbing and high as fuck.
Yeah.
And apparently hoping that just somebody would save him, the way he was putting it. Just like, I don't know. So I needed somebody to save me. And he finally said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to quit drinking. He said, that's how I'll quit coke. The drinking leads to coke. You know what I mean? If I quit drinking, I can quit coke. So he said he went home the next morning where he told his parents that he's quitting drinking and he's quitting baseball. Because he can't quit drinking if he's going to be a baseball player, because that just doesn't work for him. He's got to...
And you guys don't know that I do coke, so I can't tell you that I'm quitting that too.
Yeah, I can't tell you the other thing I'm quitting, but it's even harder. 4 days later, that lasted 3 days, and the fourth day he drank again, and he didn't quit baseball either, so he just kept going. And the 84 season, better year, not a lot of innings, only 46 innings and 43 appearances, but he had a 2.53 ERA.
Great.
Only 28 hits and 46 appearances, 22 walks, so doing much better that year than he was in 84. But there's a lot of problems in 84. That's when things kind of really fall apart. Wheels come off this bitch. At the ballpark, people started to notice that Scurry and Berra especially something was wrong with them. One Pittsburgh Press sports writer here, Bob Herzl, he said, quote, the signs were there. Dale Berra couldn't perform the simplest task. He was picked off first base with a 3-0 count on the batter. I don't know. If you're not a baseball fan, you don't understand. That's
three balls.
Inconceivable.
Yeah.
You're not going to steal on 3-0. You're just not. Because if it's ball 4, you can walk there.
Right.
And then if it's not ball 4, then you can fucking deal with it from there. But 3-0, you're standing around seeing if it's going to be ball 4.
Right. And 3-0 is a take sign. You're not. Yeah. You're letting that ball go by.
Yeah. There's about
hoping it's a ball. Like
there's about 5 hitters. No, there's about 5 hitters in the league with a green light on 3-0, and those are the guys that are your MVP guys that know better. Otherwise, you're just going to pop it up probably and fuck it up for everybody. So take the goddamn pitch. So that's just a dumb thing, not paying attention and not getting back and, wandering too far off the base. Not for nothing else, Dale Berra's not a fucking base stealer, so it's not like he's Ricky Henderson and he was trying to pull something off. He just was lazy and got caught out there. It's just complete lack of concentration. Other times, Scurry would fall asleep in the bullpen. He'd be passed out in the bullpen. Just lean back, hat over his eyes like an old cowboy. He later would tell Sports Illustrated that he fell asleep in the bullpen between 20 and 25 times between the 83 season and 84 season.
Shit.
Just falling asleep all the time. He'd have to be woken up when he had to start warming up. Rod, you're up. Oh, shit,
it's your
bad.
Turn.
Your
My
turn.
Christ.
He said that he was just so run down from doing coke all night that he would do all of that shit. He once fell asleep while standing up in the outfield during pregame batting practice when they're supposed to be shagging fly balls.
That's a guy that doesn't love baseball anymore. He loves coke.
He loves coke a lot. Yeah. If you're sleeping like a horse, that's an issue. That means you're doing too much coke. That's one of the side effects. You'll sleep like a horse. It's bad.
I'm gonna lock my knees and just stand right here.
Stand right here. That's it, babe.
Hopefully I don't have a bad dream about falling.
No, his teammate, Don Robinson, who I told you would come back, he says he didn't notice anything. He said,
Nothing?
quote, I didn't think there was a problem. He said that Scurry never really talked much to begin with, so he'd never really noticed anything with the social interactions. It's just he was like that. He said it amounted to some brief small talk. That's all they would do anyway. A little small talk. He's not a real talkative guy. At spring training, Scurry lived at the beach alone. And off the field, he only hung out with Dale Berra. So we knew what they were doing there.
He's just facilitating his coke use all day, every day.
That's it. And the Robinson guy said that it was only those two hanging out. So unless you were in there, nobody had any idea. We didn't know what the hell they were doing. Maybe they were into weird sex shit with women, and who the hell knows?
Point.
We didn't know. We didn't know what the fuck they're doing. So he finally, though, decides to confide in Don Robinson. He actually does, because he's known him for so long. Don Robinson started to try to be friends with him, And Scurry said, quote, "It's nice to have a guy you can sit down and talk to and tell him things you don't want anybody else to know. And I know it won't go any farther than that." So Robinson was the one. By the way, this is the story they put out in the paper.
Right. This is not real.
Yes. Now, Robinson, he did tell Robinson about it. Robinson did tell him, you got to chill out. Maybe you should try to get help and all this kind of shit. But the paper says, quote, "It was Robinson who convinced him to seek help. It was Robinson who understood the private devil that stalked him when he returned and how hard it was to pitch again." So Scurry said, "I was worried about other people's feelings toward me, about whether they had accepted me. I couldn't concentrate on baseball. Before I'd even get to the ballpark, I'd want to turn around and go home."
Yeah.
So the real problem is this. Start of the 84 season, Rod calls home from his hotel room in San Diego. Preston, his dad, says, quote, "He was talking to us and he just blacked out." So he just passed out in mid-conversation.
That's not good.
Which is something that you do when you're on drugs, mostly. Right. So it's a drug thing.
Drugs generally are the cause of that, yeah. Unless you're 65, 70 years old. Sometimes dementia gets a hold of you.
Yeah, sometimes you're just tired if you're that old. Shit. I mean, Christ almighty, yeah. So you ever see an old man at Thanksgiving? He's done. That's it. It's halftime of the Lions game. Jim. He's got no more.
No matter if it's drugs or age, if you pass out in a conversation, you've just had enough. That's all.
You've had enough. Maybe you should look into that. Someone passes out on you. Maybe your conversation sucks. Maybe it's not them. Maybe you're just
look
boring.
Look within, my friend.
Yeah, look within. So Preston said, quote, "I called Don Robinson and had him go check on Rod's room." Yeah. That's why he didn't go to Ron and go, Rod, Don, I got a problem, man.
Yeah.
Don found the problem.
The problem presented itself.
Robinson went and got Dale Berra, too, because he knew he was tight with Rod, and they went in there. He's like, maybe you can talk to him since I know, you two kind of party together. They found Rod in his room hallucinating about invisible snakes crawling on him and in his hotel room. He was freaking out, grabbing shit, trying to kick. He was kicking the floor at snakes that were everywhere.
Yeah.
You know how much coke you have to do to hallucinate snakes?
That's bad coke, probably.
That's a lot of coke. It's just a lot of coke. Bad, good. It's fucking gallons of it. And you're just... I know it's not measured in gallons, but it's gallons.
You can put that in milk jugs.
That's what I was going to say. Just fill a gallon of milk with it, and that's how much coke you have to use. So he was doing that. They didn't know what to do. Right. Apparently, he was really freaked. He had a lifelong fear of snakes, too. He had a real weird snake thing. So the snakes freaked him out, and he was like losing his mind and tearing at his clothes and shit. He was nuts. So they didn't know what to do. So they said, we have to tell fucking Chuck Tanner, I guess. What else do we do
know about this? Yeah,
this is bad. Like, we can't cover this up. So they went to the manager, Chuck Tanner, and they were like, "Hey, Chuck, sorry to wake you up, buddy. Tomorrow's game,
412.
We're all pumped for the game tomorrow. Might want to get the front desk. Bit of a snake problem in this hotel. Yeah. Either that or your left-handed reliever is fucking gacked out of his mind. One of the two. We're not sure which one yet." So Scurry was immediately put on the disabled list, I would say, and sent off to Gateway Rehabilitation near Pittsburgh for 30 days. And as we know from these early 80s Coke stories, that was the cure-all. They send you somewhere for 30 days, you come back, and they go, "He's good now." You have a press conference, and you get right back into everything, and you go, "Whoof. That Coke problem was something else, wasn't it, boys? All right."
30 days in rehab cures you.
Cures you. Done. You're good now. So, the real whole story was that the team traveled to L.A. after the game. They were going to take on the Dodgers the next day. Scurry went to his room at the Biltmore, and he had pitched like shit, and he wanted to do a bunch of Coke and forget about it.
Right.
He had a Coke connection in town, by the way. This was later on when he came back. I'm sorry, because later on he'll come back, and this is what he did. He had a Coke connection in town, but he needed to be careful because people had begun to keep an eye on him and making sure that people weren't coming and going from his room.
Right.
He had a teammate that would keep his door open across from him to make sure no one was coming and going out of Rod's room to try to help him.
That's our catch-all?
That's our catch-all. Yeah, people were watching him. So they're regularly checking up on him. People are stopping by. "Hey, how you doing, Rod? Everything good?" Right. "Yeah, he's not all coked out." "All right, good." But this is how far. If you want Coke, you're getting Coke. That's the thing. If you have money, you're going to get Coke, period. So he had his blow delivered to him, had his shit brought in. He would have, there's a lot of people coming in and out, team guys and stuff, bringing in equipment for guys. New gloves that they had made. This glove just got restitched up. He sent it to this guy. He had a guy come in delivering him a new baseball glove and some new whatever the fuck, and put the Coke inside one of the fingers of the baseball glove to give to him, so that nobody looked twice at a guy bringing equipment into him. That's just normal. So people are always bringing it for them to try out, to see if they can sponsor them and get them to do ads for them and shit. So this is really fucking normal. And he went in, and apparently Scurry went to party. And that's what ended up happening. The thing they left out of the newspaper was that he was mad that people were spying on him. Mm-hmm. So because when Don Robinson and Dale Berra and Chuck Tanner came in, he was pissed off at that. So he locked himself into the room and tore the fucking room apart. Oh, no. Tore it apart, looking for listening devices and things like that.
Criminal.
Took apart the TV.
Oh, no.
Disassembled it completely. Took it apart. They said they were like, holy shit. This hotel security ended up going because people were coming and going from the room, freaking out and all this type of shit. But the Pirates staff quickly told the security guards to get the fuck out of here. It's none of your business.
Right.
And when they went in the room, they found not only shit taken apart, the TV taken apart and all this, but a big old fucking pile of Coke was on the table too in the room on the nightstand. So he was just Scarfacing it, just going to town. So they didn't want the hotel security to call the cops or anything like that. So, they fucking got them out of there. Scurry would later say that in a 2.5 day binge, he did about 20 grams of Coke in that period. That was the end of it, seeing snakes and taking TVs apart and shit. Yeah. So, he ends up going to San Diego, and the headline in the newspaper was, quote, Scurry asks for help, admitted to drug center for rehabilitation, which is a little different. I can't
believe it wasn't so simple as Scurries. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Scurries to rehab.
Seems obvious to me, fellas.
Now, the GM, this guy is silver as fuck right here. Yeah. When it benefits him, players have a problem, and then when he's mad at them, we'll tell you what he has to say later on. This is Harding Pete Peterson. No wonder why he goes by Harding, because Pete is a little much for Peterson. He said in the paper, I'm proud that he came to us seeking help. It takes a big man to step forward in the way he did. Not quite. Not quite. But
it takes a big man to do that?
That's our story, and we're sticking to it. He knocked on the door, hat in hand, and said, I got a problem and I need help. That's what they acted like he said. Nope.
There was a dismantled TV set, sir.
He dismantled a Zenith. That's the problem. That's the issue we have with this whole thing.
He would be so impressed, James, that you did not murder your family to hang out with an MLB or that.
Very.
He would give you the Hall of Fame Best Friend Award. Takes a big man to not murder them.
It's pretty awesome that you didn't do that. It's great. I'm impressed.
Holy hell.
Now, this was it, though. This kind of slammed the door on the whole free-for-all Coke party in Pittsburgh, because now they were aware there was a problem, and now they're like, who else is doing it? Now they're looking into it. Kevin Koch, the Kochi Parrot, he said, when the Scurry thing happened, it was over. It was over. He said that Dale Berra told him, stay away from Rod. He's lost his mind. He was taking apart the TV. So don't give Rod any more fucking Coke, please.
Yeah, he can't handle whatever it is that you've got, man. That's
No. So April 8th, 84, which I believe was the next day after this whole thing happened, the Washoe County High School alumni, which is him, was honored by the Washoe County Teachers Association as an outstanding example to the community during a banquet. But he was about to take a TV apart and enter drug rehabilitation instead. So a little different. Outstanding timing, ladies or men, gentlemen. I was going to say ladies and gentlemen, and then I don't know what I was saying. Everybody out there. May 10th, 84 is he did a month, so he's good. Yeah. And he does a he's good now press conference.
Super cured.
I'm good now. Thank you for everyone who stuck by me.
Yeah.
Through all this tough times. He says, this article starts out a month ago. Rod Scurry lay at the bottom of life's junk heap, a shell of a man, afraid to live and unable to die.
Oh, my God.
Cocaine had taken control of his life. His every thought was related to the drug, his every move dictated by it. Then the quote from Curry, I was ashamed every time I went and pitched. Cocaine had a hold of me and I couldn't quit. I hated myself. So that's old Rod.
Yeah.
Next paragraph. Looking thin and fit, Scurry's hands shook nervously as he spoke. He often had to fight back tears. A prepared text didn't really explain what he felt in his heart. Didn't tell of the way he almost died 3 times. And we'll talk about that. And the love of his teammate, and the love for his teammate, Don Robinson. Scurry crumpled the speech up and threw it to the ground. Yeah, he said that he hit bottom 28 days ago. And, he's been in at a Gateway Rehabilitation Center near Aliquippa, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And he's restructuring his life that has fallen apart. He said, quote, for some time, I have had a dependency to drugs, which has had a harmful effect on my life and my performance on the baseball field. With the help of my family, my team, and the Pirates. Isn't that your team? I don't know who is it. I don't know what he's talking about.
Maybe he meant like real pirates, the people bringing the coke in.
Oh, yeah, and the pirates that come over from Cuba, wherever to Miami. I have recognized my problem and realized that it's time to get help. I will enter the drug program to get free from myself in this dependency. That's what he said before he went in. Mm-hmm. I hope to return to a normal lifestyle in the future. So they said that 6 months ago he had told his parents about it. He said, I always thought I was strong enough to handle anything. I couldn't handle this. I quit, and it only lasted a week. That was his, I'm quitting drinking, I'm quitting coke, I'm quitting baseball shit. He said that he went into spring training with his weight down 20 pounds. Problems got worse. And finally, he says that he called Don Robinson and asked for help, which, as we know, isn't true. The father called and said, can you check on my kid?
I can't understand him. I can't find him.
Can't find him. He said, I love him for what he did. That's what Scurry said about Don Robinson. Then he says, quote, 3 times I almost died. Okay. Rod says, first time was in Florida during spring training. The second time was in Nevada during one of those off-season hotel binges. Yeah. And the third time apparently was when he was in his hotel room freaking out.
Yeah,
he's with the snakes. Snakes are dangerous. He said, quote, I don't care. I didn't care about nobody. Cocaine was the number one priority in my life. It came before my family, before baseball. In the winter, I lived in a hotel room. I had no control over what I was doing. He said that he became a con man and, he just couldn't do anything. He said, I loved the life of baseball. I used to come to the clubhouse early, get there at 1 PM, but I stopped coming early because I had to try to get some sleep. And that was
staggering, James. We've heard these stories countless times. You know what I mean? And not just professional athletes, but people's daily life. How the fuck is that a good advertisement for trying it?
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Every story's awful. I don't know if it's like, you have to be successful to do it that much. So is that the goal? I don't know what the fuck it is.
I don't know how people do meth. I don't know how people do this. There's never been a good advertisement for any of that shit.
Fuck no. No, never. Past 1978, there's never been a good advertisement for it.
It works out poorly every time.
Every time. He said it was so bad that he would be pitching and he'd sneak back into the clubhouse between innings to snort a line.
Wow.
That's wild. He said it started with beer, and he says now alcohol is just as dangerous as the others. He said for him, Coke was fun. He said he did it for the fun of it at first. He said, I never knew it would become this serious. He says, as I moved through the system, as my salary got higher, I continued to use more cocaine. Finally, it got to the point where I couldn't quit. Mm-hmm. So... yeah, he said a year ago I hadn't hit bottom yet. This time I had hit bottom. If you were close to dying, you would understand. So He said he went to the Gateway Center and revamped his entire life, though. 30 days, he's good now. 28 days, actually, was what it was.
It's a 4-week.
4-week. He would run 2 to 3 miles in the morning, ride a stationary bike 4 miles at night, and he would throw in between.
And that fixes it.
That fixes it all. He said in between there was counseling also.
Yeah,
he said...
You require that for the rest of your life, man, or at least until you've tackled this, because this is not... It's not a 28-day fix-all.
Jimmy, you require this for 28 days. That's clearly what the evidence has shown, right?
It's unbelievable.
It worked for Hollywood Henderson.
Yeah.
He got out and then fucking forcefully skull-fucked a paraplegic afterwards, right? That's normal. It happens. He fixed it, all fixed up. He does break a big rule here for athletes in my book, or the Crime and Sports rule book. He starts talking about God a lot now, which as we've seen bad things come out of that in sports. Quote.
But they do that in these rehab centers too. Is like replace a vice with a vice, and it's a lot to do.
Like here, this won't make you see snakes, although in the story there's talking snakes. So it's really. Imagine if he was like, "This is great, I love it." Then he got to that part and he's like, "Oh God, Jesus, they're everywhere. There's fucking snakes, man. See? Fucking they were on coke too, man. Fucking
even fixing the snakes, I got snakes."
Eve was on fucking coke, bro. That's what happened. I'm fixing snakes, got more snakes.
Yeah.
Did she take her TV apart?
Yeah, perhaps that Samuel L. Jackson on the plane is just doing coke.
Maybe that's all it is. That's it. All those people, they got a bad batch. He says, well, you know what? Let's give them it in their own words on this. Yeah. What do you say? Because this is a real I'm good now. So those are usually fun. Here we go. In their own words, quote, "Now I pray every morning when I get up and every night when I go to bed. God comes first, then me, then my family. Baseball used to be the number one priority in my life, but now it's fourth or fifth. If I don't take care of me, then I can lose my family, baseball, and everything. I almost did."
Jesus.
So now it's God first, then family. Mm-hmm. So there we go. He also said in his press conference, quote, "I still love baseball, but I hate the environment." And he said it's just a hard environment for him. And loneliness was the big issue, is what he says. Loneliness.
I know that feeling.
He says, when people idolize you, you're supposed to be almost perfect. They don't want to hear about your weaknesses. Which back then they didn't. Now they love it. Now it's shows you're human. You know, right. People like that shit. It's a big thing. He said that, he said drugs and alcohol weren't really the problem. They were an attempted solution. He said it made you forget about all the feelings of loneliness. It made you forget about wanting to be somewhere else. He said, and that was his main problem, was he always wanted to be home, and that's how it started. And then it just was great after a while. He forgot about being home. He just wanted to do coke. He said, hotels were, he called it like a prison cell to him. He said that's the, coke and booze, that's what helped him escape. He said, and this is the same for comics, quote, "The game is over and you're still wound up. If you have a good game, you go out drinking to celebrate. If you go have a bad game, you go out drinking to forget."
Absolutely.
That's it, man. That's what
nails it.
That's if you have to be that up for something for that limited amount of time. It's just different. I know everybody has to be up for their jobs, but no one's asking anyone to be that up for 40 straight hours for the most part, unless it's air traffic control or something. I mean, honestly, otherwise there's lulls in everybody's work and, that sort of shit. Anything out on a field or where you're being judged and there's 1,000 people plus staring at you.
Your performance fucking matters.
It's a lot. It's a lot of pressure, and you need something to get over that. And some people it's coke, I guess.
Most people, it's some sort of substance. There are very few that have nothing.
It is, and then the other thing is you're done late at night, so everybody goes home, and then you're. What are you doing? It's the same as if you work at a restaurant. If you
sucks, right?
Yeah, you're going to do something. You're going to break into the mini bar. You're going to fucking do whatever.
Take apart a TV, motherfucker.
Take apart a TV. Make some value of your time. He said, "I never really drank that much in the wintertime around the people I love. It doesn't happen. But this is my 12th year in organized baseball. I've been home a month and a month to 3 months at most in any of these years." He says he still likes baseball, though. It's fun coming to the clubhouse and acting like a kid all the time. There's nothing I'd trade it for. And yet, I think with sports, people don't take your feelings into consideration at all. They're all tied up in their own egos. Uh-huh. Yeah. Now, Harding, Pete Peterson, like we said, the GM, he said he's proud of Scurry. He said, I'm proud of Rod for admitting to the problem so he can get his life straightened away and get back to pitching the way we know he all can.
Oh, my God.
That's the other thing that they would say back then that was funny. Our number one concern at this point is to help Rod get his life back in order. And Chuck Tanner, the manager, said, I feel sorry for him. Think of the misery he's been through. It hurts me, but I'm happy for him. Happy he's going to get this thing straightened out. You don't know what you have happened if you don't know what would have happened. Sorry, that was the newspaper, so it was foggy. It's like a cloudy newspaper. If he hadn't come for help. So everybody would have this thing like he's getting it straightened out. Like you could get like a cyst removed or something, like getting it all taken care of. No worries.
Yeah, but that requirement is like on somebody else's responsibility. This is this is them giving him all the ownership of it. No matter win or lose, it's on him, and that they're taking credit for helping, but also distancing themselves and putting all the onus on him for succeeding.
So, fuck yeah, you got it. The Pirates also decide that they are going to start testing all their minor leaguers for drugs now.
Oh, boy.
They can't test the major leaguers without a union agreement, so they're going to test the minor leaguers, and they did. And they said they were telling everyone an adequate time to stop using drugs, and they said that, in case you're doing it, and they said the first test was just to get a baseline of how many people are using it, and then after the second test, if you come up positive, there'll start being penalties as a team. Okay. Peterson said, we had some players turn up positive. He did say that, quote, no hard drugs were found. No hard drugs. So they can't afford hard drugs in the minors. They can afford crappy dirtweed that somebody at a bar gave them. He said there were a number of players who tested positive for cocaine and marijuana, though, which he didn't consider cocaine a hard drug at that point.
Right, that's the other point. What are you doing where you don't consider cocaine a hard drug?
Yeah, no shit. Peterson also said, what does that tell you? It tells you that I didn't care about anybody. Cocaine is my number one priority. Mm-hmm. So he said that was it. They had enough time to stop, and they still didn't stop. Right. They knew the test was coming. They did it anyway. This is what Peterson says at this later on point. This is how a lot of the country turned. It went from he'll be fine in 30 days, and they saw that didn't work, and they're like, well, I guess jail forever then, right? It's either cushy 30-day rehab or life in a dank cell. Those are the only two options for a drug addict. He says, wow, quote, this country can get rid of its drug problem if it wanted to. No, it can't. Nope. It's simple. If you're found guilty of pushing drugs, you go to jail for the rest of your life. Would anyone push drugs with that being the penalty? If they will stop it, why not do it? Well, we tried your thing out, and they did that. They had life sentences, and guess what happened? Not a fucking speck less drug fucking dealing.
The problem is life is expensive, and that's easy to sell. You're selling
supply.
It's
demand.
Right.
If people want it, someone's going to supply it, and people fucking want it because it works. So that's the deal. No matter what it is,
so well that people will chance dying today.
Yeah, they don't care. They love it.
They don't give a fuck because if I don't die, then I have the best time of my life. So make it not work, coach.
Yeah, please. So September of '84, he's back and he's pitching and he's doing great. Mm-hmm. So Chuck Tanner said, Rod Scurry is back. It makes me so happy to see him pitching this way. He's getting the chance to pitch every day. He's getting in shape. So he had, an elbow problem last month when he tried to come back here. And he said, I haven't really pitched much this year, but I'm satisfied with what I've done. It's important to go out on a positive note. After all that's happened, I need a rest. I need time to forget. He said, I feel like I've lost a couple of years. In 2 years, I kind of went from being one of the best to the worst, and now I'm getting it back. He said that it's probably going to be a tough year for me. I can't mess up again. Mm-hmm. Can't do it. He said, there's something I'm missing I haven't found, I guess, and until I do, it's going to be hard, but I won't go back. He's not going to go back to it. Pete Peterson now feels that not only should drug pushers be put in jail forever, he fears that anyone involved in drugs is going to get involved with gamblers now. He said they're going to be in debt for drugs, and then they're going to be throwing games out there to make up the money. Which
they're all the same guys, James.
All of them. It's all the same guy. He says that Peterson, if even one player is discovered attempting to fix the game in public, the game will be ruined forever and the public will never believe in them again. And yeah. April 85, he agrees to, Rod does, 10 random drug tests during the season for him. So to do that. What ends up happening, that goes fine until about June when this is the way the newspaper puts it, the Pirates suspend him for failing to follow a rehab program. To put it a different way, Rod just decided he wasn't even going to a game. He just wasn't going to show up. No call, no show.
He office spaced it.
In the majors.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know. I don't like my job anymore. I'm just not going to go.
Not going to go. A friend of his said that he got a call from Rod, and Rod was all upset, and he said he was coming over, and he said, yeah, I guess come over. I don't know what you're so upset about. Come over. So this guy said Rod came over, and he said he had been doing like work and shit, so he went to take a shower quick and come back out. And he said he got dressed, came out, and Rod was sitting on his couch in the living room. He had come over already. He was like, wow, you got in. Okay.
There you are.
So the guy just turned the TV on casually to have it on in the background, and the Pirate game came on. And he's like looking at the screen, looking back at Rod, looking at the screen. How are you?
What are you doing here, bud?
Places at once. He said, I was like, oh, my God. And it was the end of the game, too, like when they would have called him. And the announcer at one point said, it's the ninth inning and there's a lefty in the on-deck circle. I wonder why Scurry isn't warming up.
Where's Rod?
Well, he's on my couch. He said, this guy Connolly said he turned and looked at Rod and he was like, what the fuck, man? Like, what are you doing? And Rod was like, fucking, I want some Coke. That's why I'm here. And he's like, Jesus Christ, he's in my fucking living room. That's why he's not out there. And he's like looking back like, did you hear him? And he said, quote, Rod didn't care. Didn't care at all.
Rod, they're literally calling you right now.
Right now, the announcer.
The announcer wants you out there.
Fuck. He also said about Rod, he was talkative one day, withdrawn the next. He lost concentration and his ability slipped. He also, he thought that he hated it. He hated baseball is what he thought Rod did, his friend Kevin Connolly. He said the only reason he was playing the game was for money. He didn't care about baseball. He said he didn't know him that long. He was just selling him some Coke, but he said that he couldn't fucking control himself. He said he was a disaster. He was using drugs during the game. There's a line where it goes from partying, but this was way over partying. Yeah, that's way over partying. Kevin Cokie the Parrot here,
right.
He said, quote, I never saw something overtake somebody like it did Scurry. He was such a good guy, such a quiet guy, fun to be around. He had that shy laugh. He was just a super guy. And then to see him just not be able to have any control at all, he had no control.
Right.
So a fucking disaster. He gets suspended because the Pirates suspend him for not showing up. And then they find out that he was, they test him and they find out he was doing a bunch of fucking Coke. And, he's a goddamn disaster, put it that way. They're all like, they're getting sick of this at this moment in time. And he said that, he couldn't quit. That's all it was. He just couldn't quit. And later on, he ends up being called in because there's going to be a big grand jury investigation.
Right.
And they call him in and, he says, I'm ready to tell you what the story is. There's a network of drug dealers servicing the National League. Rod spills it, and he testifies against that Schiffman guy.
Yeah.
He testifies against him, and he ends up going to prison and shit. So, it's a fucking...
sniff man. All you wanted to do was hang out with guys and provide Coke, and you're going to prison.
That's the thing. When you read this Cocaine 7 book, and we'll do the Pittsburgh Cocaine 7, when we do the episode, you'll notice, too, that, like, these guys, most of the people busted weren't big Coke dealers. They were guys who knew a guy who had it and could get it for their friends, and that's what they did. They were just the guy who was like, yeah, I'll get it for you. I can get it at the best price, and they get it for their friends.
Sucks.
They weren't dealers. They weren't people who were driving around Porsches because they were selling Coke. They were...
Right.
They were working 9 to 5.
Minivan. Right.
Yeah, they were working 9 to 5 and then going to the game afterwards, hanging out with the guys and grabbing some Coke for them along the way so they could all party together. So now...
So in the grand scheme of things, cracking down on this does nothing for society. All it does, the only people that benefit are Major League Baseball, because they get that particular person that's providing drugs to these few people out of the sport. That's all it does. It does nothing for society. Making a big deal out of this is stupid. All it's doing is putting a dude that has kids in jail.
Well, yeah, he's
doesn't even fucking do that much coke.
He's not a giant trafficker, this guy. He's a guy with I'd say you look at it of, do you have a 9 to 5? Right. If someone has a 9 to 5, then you know what? That's enough. Their life is tough, and you know what? They're doing this. They're not living a luxury life of a trafficker here, where you to fucking.
He's not parked on the corner out front of your kid's school, getting your kid fucked up and lifing him. You know what I mean? It's not.
That's the thing.
This is ridiculous.
Now, his wife Lisa says that. Betty says this, and then. His wife is Laura, his sister's Lisa. I'm sorry, 2 L words. Yeah. His mother, Betty, says that he was treated like a star in rehab and not like an addict, which was another thing that was that goes on now still.
Right.
She says, my husband and I went to see him, and I was very disappointed in the rehab center because I felt like they were treating him as a big league star and not as a drug addict. She said that the place, the daughter pointed out, Lisa, that they even had a mound for him to practice. They even put up a pitcher's mound so he could practice.
Just like in 28 Days with Sandra Bullock. They got that for that guy, too.
It's fucking crazy. She says, when my husband and I got there, we were greeted like we were coming to a big party. I cried all the way home because I felt like they weren't doing the job. Rick and I went back and we went to the sessions with him, but I was very disappointed in it. And Rick, the brother, said, I put these 30 days in and it's done, is what Rod thought. And he knew that was the wrong attitude, Rick did, and he said that he could see that this wasn't going to stick. Rick said drugs and alcohol were separating me and him. We both knew that he wanted to get back to the path he'd been on. We still loved each other, but neither of us knew how to get there. Mm-hmm. So he's separating himself from his family and all this type of shit. And it's fucking bad. It's just bad. At one point in 1985, you want to hear about the worst thing about the Schiffman mess? Okay. Schiffman cut him off.
Really?
He wasn't even selling him shit anymore because he was concerned about him.
Really?
He said, this guy's all fucked up. I'm not getting him any more coke. So he literally stopped getting him coke. He stopped.
Still went to prison.
Yeah, and because he had done it. He had sold it a bunch of times. He said, this is Schiffman. Right before the whole mess came down, Rod warned me, hey, look, man, you better split because there's a lot of trouble coming your way. And by the way, do you have any coke? He said literally that's what he was doing.
Shit that you're in trouble for, and I'm in trouble for, to be honest with you. Can you get me some of that? And then you should get the fuck out of town.
He said, hey, Rod, I'm out of business, man. He ended up getting 2 years in prison, Schiffman, for this whole thing. And he ends up having a big religious conversion, and then he ends up not doing drugs and then getting married and having 3 kids and having a nice life after that. So good for him. That's a good deal. So August 1985, that's when Schiffman pleads guilty to 20 drug trafficking charges. 20. Because 20 times he sold him coke, while 91 other counts were dismissed.
Jesus, they really hit him hard.
Yeah, no shit. That's a lot. And this was from years ago. This was from 82 and 83. So he became the first player named in the cocaine distribution trial of Curtis Strong, who's another guy in this whole mess. When we were talking, it'd take too long to get into it. He, Pirates teammates Dale Berra, Lee Mazzilli, Lee Lacey, John Milner, and Dave Parker, along with several other major league players, were called to the grand jury for their involvement in this, and they were all given immunity to testify against these guys. So as a result, Peter Ueberroth, the commissioner of baseball, said that Scurry will undergo random drug testing for the rest of his career. Scurry was one of 10 players named on Friday to undergo such testing. And 11 players were given suspensions and all this type of shit. Keith Hernandez was one of the guys being tested.
Of course.
And Rod said, the hardest thing to admit is that you have a problem. I have a problem. I can't do anything in moderation, so I can't even drink.
Okay.
Keith Hernandez said, the devil is on this earth. That's what he said about cocaine. They said, what do you think about cocaine? He said, the devil is on this earth.
That's some words that the cokehead has said.
No shit. That is fucking wild. The end of 85, he sold to the Yankees.
Okay.
He's got to get out of Pittsburgh. He's fucking testifying against drug dealers and shit. Like it's over in Pittsburgh. So he sold
him to New York fucking
New York,
City,
where it's nice and quiet.
Yeah,
nice and quiet. You can really get your breath.
Jesus Christ.
And there's never any drugs there either. Is the other part. You can't get drugs in New York City. Good God. You can't get drugs in the South Bronx. There's no corners of drugs.
The one city in two cities in America. If you told me if you have a major drug problem, where do you not? New York, L.A. Never. Don't send me there.
Vegas too. Keep me away from there. Otherwise, and probably Phoenix would be the last
Phoenix
one.
Is not good for it.
It's terrible for drugs. It's all the drugs from L.A. and the East Coast. They're all mingling.
It's a stopover.
No shit. Scurry said it's a nice relief to get out of Pittsburgh after everything that's happened. So, there you go. He ends up pitching there. He said, it was tough. They couldn't forget what happened in the past. It hung over my shoulders every day. I was throwing good on the road, but when I pitched at home, it was tough. I was thinking about gaining acceptance, and you can't pitch effectively if you're not concentrating on what you're doing. So, yeah. Anyway, September 5th, 85... is the first day of the Curtis Strong trial. Lonnie Smith of the Royals has to testify. He names Joaquin Andahar of the Cardinals and Keith Hernandez of the Mets as other players for whom he purchased cocaine for. He was the middleman for.
Right.
Lee Lacy of the Orioles, Dave Parker of the Reds. They're also subpoenaed. The suspended for 1 year, Lonnie Smith, Keith Hernandez, Enos Campbell, Dale Berra, Dave Parker, Jeff Leonard, Joaquin Andahar. They ended up commuting those sentences if they agreed to give a percentage of their salary to some shit and get tested all the time. Okay. That was the deal. Claudel Washington, Larry Sorensen, Lee Lacy, and Al Holland were originally suspended for 60 days. And then ordered to submit to drug testing with no disciplinary action, Tim Raines, who we know needs it, Rod Scurry, Dickie Knowles, Gary Matthews, the Sarge, Vita Blue, who's awesome, Daryl Sconiers, Alan Wiggins, who there's an episode on, Dusty Baker, there you go, he's ordered. Boy. Lifetime testing. Manny Sarmiento and Daryl Thomas. Those
I had no
tested
idea
guys.
that Dusty was such a fun guy.
Yeah, Dusty was a blast
today.
No, guy, yeah, he looks like this old grumpy man, but he was a party apparently. He'd get it on. So that year, 85 totals here. He's had 35 games he pitches in, 60 innings, a 3.13 ERA.
Wow.
Not terrible. Less hits than innings pitched. Pretty good. Sure. $350,000 he made that year as well. Now we start to get his salary. February of 1986, he and his wife Laura welcome their first child.
Wow.
They have a child. Name?
Yeah.
Rodney.
You betcha.
Of course it is. Rodney James. He seems like a good kid too. We'll talk about him a little bit in a bit.
All right.
He developed a close relationship. We're talking about Rod, not Rod Jr.,
right.
with Billy Martin, which would be weird if Rod Jr. became Billy Martin's close friend. So he becomes close with him because Billy knows about being a fuck up. Yep. He knows that. He said that after the team trips, Steinbrenner has hotels put midnight snacks and a bucket of like beers and shit in the hotel rooms for the players when they get there if they come in from a long night. So he said it's nice, but for Rod, he said, quote, I had to pour them down the sink about the beer. It's the main.
Take them to your room?
Nope, I couldn't give them away. It's the main reason why I take the drug test every day. If I didn't have that, I might have poured them into me, and you can't leave any loopholes with me. Yeah. So he knows that he's fucking, needs to be monitored. He said, I have a wife and baby now. I almost always stay with my family now. My wife and baby fill up my time. Before, I think it was just too much free time. When I went home, it was just me and the walls sitting there.
Yeah.
And he said, it's everywhere, the pressures of life. In baseball, for me, it was all the free time. Drinking and drugs helped me forget a lot of the time. They were almost my friends. Wow. Cocaine is my friend.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Wow. Cocaine is my friend. I think we just labeled the episode.
Yeah, I'm Vera. I brought cocaine again.
He said,
hammered tonight again. Take apart a zenith, my friend.
Maybe an RCA into the end. So he said this year, Scurry's wife last year traveled with him all the time, which kept him from doing coke and drinking and shit. This year, newborn son, she can't travel with him. He's all alone. He said, just living baseball, that's my hardest adjustment now. You'd almost rather play 2 or 3 games a day and just stay at the ballpark. Just keep busy. He said, you're almost always left alone. That's what hurts. A few drinks with the guys, that's all over now, I guess. It's just time to grow up. I have a wife, my baby, and a Great Dane. It's responsibility and somebody I have to care about, and I want to care about. So 86, he pitches in 31 games, 39 innings, 3.66 ERA. Okay. Not terrible. Makes $450,000.
That's nice.
January 1987. He is in Reno, just south of downtown Reno, and he is arrested for reckless driving. And when they get him out of the car, they can tell he's had a few. He's had a few, and he refused to submit to the blood alcohol test. Refused. So he's charged with drunken and reckless driving. And obviously he can't be drinking at all. Yankee spokesman said, we have not talked to Rod at this point. Any comment would be premature. Sure. They do comment on March 27th, 87 when they release him. So there's that.
It's a hell of a statement.
That's a statement. June 4th, 87, he signed as a free agent with the San Francisco Giants.
Yeah.
He spends the season in Phoenix. See, this is why I wish, again, for a million reasons, but I wish Rod was still alive because I'm 99% sure he was around. He was playing for the Phoenix Firebirds at this point. I can't. It might have been the next season. They might have missed each other by a season. But he plays in Phoenix, and he has a 3.77 ERA. Not terrible. Makes $340,000 to play in the minors and to play at Muni.
Yeah,
to play at Phoenix Muni. I think they were still playing there.
I've been to that ballpark so many times
Muni.
to watch the Firebirds. It was a blast.
Muni's a great little stadium. Yeah. It's like the one by me, except not as nice as that one, the one in New York where I live. That Duchess, man, that thing is great.
It's beautiful.
Those Hudson Valley Renegades games, that's hard to say. Yeah. Renegades games are fucking fun.
If they don't know how lucky they have it, that park is beautiful. It's so
gorgeous. Rad. I love it. We're going to get season tickets next year, I think.
So
we'll see how much they cost, but I want to get that shit. So March 19th, 1988, he's traded by the Giants to the Seattle Mariners for a player to be named later.
Okay.
So he goes from number 11th pick overall in the draft to a player to be named later. Worthy.
If you'll take him, we'll figure out the details on another day.
We'll figure it out some other time. He ends up making it up to Seattle this year, actually. Yeah. 39 games, 31 innings pitched. So he's coming in just pitching to a lefty sometimes and then getting pulled out. Has a 4.02 ERA. So not horrible. He only makes about $145,000 this year because he's only up for a little section of the season. Right. December 21st, 1988, he is released by the Mariners. And that he'll never play Major League Baseball again.
Never again.
So he's going to finish with a 3.24 ERA, which is pretty good. 39 saves in his career. You know, not bad. 460 innings pitched, 384 hits. That's really good.
That's a lot, yeah.
I think he's got more strikeouts than walks as well, too. 431 strikeouts, 274 walks. It's almost 2-1.
Yeah.
So that's not a bad career.
It looks good on paper.
Yeah, except for the time. It should have been more.
Looks better on a mirror.
A little bit. So as he figured out. December 21st, 1988, that was. December 22nd, 1988.
Oh, no.
He's in Reno, and he is arrested at a crack house. He's arrested after buying 2 rocks of crack cocaine at a crack house. He is held there. His family posts a $6,000 bond. It's like 12 hours after he's released. This happens, which is fucking insane. It's a mess. They said that the Reno crack house was under surveillance by undercover agents when Scurry walked up to one of these undercover agents at one point, because he walked up to several people, including an undercover agent, and asked where he could buy some crack.
Oh, no.
And I don't think the agent could tell him because that would have been entrapment. So I think the agent said, I don't know. But then someone else was like, right there, stupid. Jesus, have you looked at this house?
The boarded up one that people scratching keep going into.
Yep. So now he's completely fucked.
Yeah.
I mean, out of baseball the next day, out of freedom, looking bad, sitting in a jail cell. I mean, just it's a mess, and we've seen the Count Reno Sheriff's Department, how that whole thing works. We've seen what that looks like. Dangles in there, it's gross. I mean, at one point it's so bad, even as bad as it is, they even say we got to fix this place up a little, and they call in a little outside help, and it's Paul Calhoun, shit pipe enthusiast, and he says. How is it you come to arrive here? What the fuck is wrong with you? What are you doing, guy? Jesus fucking Christ. You're friends with Billy Martin one fucking minute. You're hanging out with George Steinbrenner. Things are going fucking great for you. Next thing you know, you're in see Junior out there? That's Junior. That's fucking Travis Jr. You're below him now. You see how that goes? This is bad stuff, my friend. The
deputy has her tits out, man.
I mean, I'm looking in your shit pipes, and I mean, Jesus Christ, I'd say I clean your shit pipes to smack your wife, but she's been through enough, you know what I mean? And you put her through enough. Yeah. Your shit pipes are too clogged. There's little tiny baggies in there, and I don't know, like a big block of like hardened powder I can't get out. I don't know. I'm going to have to call in reinforcements. I got to get out of here. And poof, in a poof of toilet plungers and shit pipes. He's gone. Rod is like, okay, first I saw snakes, but this time I saw a man. And I'm very confused. He was holding a plunger.
I need him to snake my pipes, but I hate snakes.
No shit. So some minor league team says that they'd like to sign him. The next year. They say, I'm trying to talk to him. If he doesn't go to jail, I'll see if he wants to play for our team.
Wow.
It's not the bigs, but it would keep him in the game. He ends up pleading, as we'll talk about here. He's going to plead guilty to possession of cocaine, and he is told, you, sir, may fuck off. He is given a 1-year suspended sentence and 18 months probation that also requires treatment and rehabilitation and all that good stuff there. 1990, he's trying to get his shit back together. 1991, that reporter who played with him in high school, he said that summer his father sent him an ad from Sparks in the want ad section of the newspaper where Scurry was offering baseball instruction. I'm Rod Scurry. I'll teach your kids how to play baseball.
For an 8-ball.
But he didn't if you baseball for an 8-ball. That's my slogan, everybody. Go get your kids. So he says that they said it was just in the want ads. Like he didn't have a business and a page. He set out a thing come to my yard and I'll show your kid how to throw a curveball.
Personals. This is nuts.
It's not like I'm started Rod Scurry's baseball camp or something, which would make sense at that point. But he didn't. The guy said, too, he came close to calling him, but he never did because he didn't know what to say. He owned a car wash at one point here, which he liked. He liked to do auto detailing. He was interested in that. He just liked to do it. It felt good. He liked to go hunting and fishing, and he was trying to stay on the straight and narrow and work on his marriage also because Laura's still with him. She's a fucking saint, this woman. And, that Schiffman guy tried to call him a year before that, and he wouldn't take the call. And Schiffman says, I guess he was scared to death. I had just hoped to have a chance to share with him what changed my life and help him if I could. He was going to try to spring Jesus on him.
The new word.
Yeah. He's like, I got it over here. Yeah, I found him at a crack house too. He said it just didn't work out that way. I heard he'd been in trouble with the crack cocaine a few years back. Wow, he really is out of the life.
He's never even seen it before.
With the crack cocaine I've been hearing so much about. And then that he had a wife and kids, but I assumed he was still pretty much involved with drugs. I just wanted to let him know, hey, no hard feelings, buddy. It turned out for the best. So Rod thought that he was mad at him for testifying against him, but he wanted to thank him for testifying against him because it helped turn his life around, he said.
Got it.
So, I mean, Jesus Christ, this guy, you feel bad for Rod, and then this guy was in prison, and I feel bad for the guy who went to prison for kind of facilitating some deals with his friends. Everybody was partying. Who cares who made the phone call? That's fucking stupid.
I hate that his life was turned upside down, and now every Sunday he has to be somewhere.
Yes, change everything. Now, I feel bad I really do. I feel bad for all these people, Jimmy, especially Laura, but not nearly as bad as I feel for Rod Scurry, regional HR manager at the Chemours Company in Fayetteville, North Carolina. And I know it's not his son because it's Roderick, not Rod me. And he's black also, and Rod's definitely not. So there's that. Rodney Scurry, just Monument, Colorado. That might be his son. I don't know. It makes sense that it's his son, actually. And then I assume he's confused by it very often. Rob Scurry with a B.
Oh, poor bastard.
He's a wine broker at Langton's in the Greater Sydney area in Australia. October 1992, his wife leaves him. Rod's wife takes off. Laura splits up. She said it was too much. She left him and the 2 kids there with him, a 6-year-old boy, Rodney, and then a 2-year-old girl that they have now as well.
Okay.
She said she needed a trial separation for a week. Okay? That's what she said. At this moment as well, the IRS is claiming nearly $500,000 in back taxes against Rod.
Did he ever pay anything? Jesus.
The tax problem, he said that it wasn't his fault and that he might not have to pay the money because it wasn't his fault. An accounting firm in Texas put Scurry and numerous other ball players into millions of dollars of bogus tax shelters that it was a company that was scamming a bunch of people. So it wasn't his fault. He thought he was doing the right thing. His money was going out and they said it was for paying taxes and it wasn't. So he had a hard time with pressure. This is what Laura says. He had a hard time with pressure, and I think that's why he started doing what he was doing. It was the pressure of waiting and not knowing. That was the quote from earlier. So she then says, the drugs made him quiet. When he wasn't on them, he was normal, fun, and happy. I couldn't live with him anymore while he was doing the drugs, she says. So October 29th, 1992, she's been gone less than a week. He's home with the children alone, and it's 12:30 a.m., on October 29th, he calls his mother in Sparks to talk about his marital problems, which is, he was upset, but coherent and lucid and fine. 40 minutes later, he called back, and this time it wasn't Rod.
Yeah.
It wasn't Rod at all. It was the grandson. It was 6-year-old Rodney asking Betty to please come over and help.
Oh, no.
Rod had gone outside. It was chilly out, too. It gets cold, at night in Reno in late October. He goes outside in sweat shorts and nothing else. No shoes, no shirt. Begging neighbors in the middle of the night, banging on their doors, yelling and screaming in his front yard for help with the invisible snakes crawling on him, with the snakes that are crawling on him and crawling all over the yard and biting him.
Fuck.
He's flailing on the ground. He's grabbing things that aren't there. He's kicking. He's yelling. He's screaming, help me. These fucking snakes. How can you not help me? There's snakes everywhere. Somebody fucking help me. Snakes. So the mom called the sheriff's office. 4 deputies came. First, they tried to chill him out. Hey, buddy, it's all good. No snakes, whatever.
Snakes. We got him.
They, tried to quiet him down. Then he got angry that they were fucking not listening to him and all that sort of shit. So they had to end up, he started struggling with them and fighting them and shit like that. So they end up handcuffing him and bound his feet and all that shit. The Cordic thing, the same thing they did with Cordic. And this isn't legal anymore to do this whole deal like this with someone who's just having
like that, right.
They didn't do anything illegal. He's not like he just robbed a bank and now he doesn't want to go to jail. He's like a dude having a breakdown. So once they get him all bound up, they find that he's stopped breathing and he's become unconscious.
Oh, no.
So they begin CPR, call the paramedics. Paramedics come here, take him to a hospital via helicopter. They get him going. Lisa, the sister, said he had a faint heartbeat and faint breathing, but the doctor said that even though we were doing CPR, it doesn't mean there's oxygen going to his actual brain,
right?
Just because it's going in his body. So, oh my Christ, they take him to the hospital where he is in a coma in the hospital. The sheriff involved in the case said he arrived at the scene shortly after they took Scurry away. He said his son Scott played Little League for the team that Scurry sponsored. Mm-hmm. and his son had the Rod Scurry's Twins was the name of the team. And it was a red satin jacket that he had there. And he said he came in the house and saw the jacket because Rod had one too. Right. And it's the same one his kid had. And he was like, oh, that's miserable. He's a nice guy. Right. The sheriff said, when I saw Betty and Lisa at the house, my heart sank. He said it was a terrible feeling to see them under those circumstances because I'd seen them in such happy times. Then when I went into the house doing the crime scene, I saw that he had a red jacket exactly like my son's, Rod Scurry's twins. That kind of finished me for the night emotionally. So he is kept on life support for a week.
Fuck.
His sister Lisa said, you can say goodbye so many times, so often, but it's never enough. His breathing was so shallow. Hearing him breathe was too painful. I couldn't go back after that night. So they said the doctor said that about a week that he'll never, even if he came out of it, he's never going to feel anything. Right. His brain's dead.
The damage is crazy.
So Lisa said the whole family talked about it and agreed with the recommendation. We all went down there and took turns saying goodbye, and then they pulled it.
Oh, boy, that's the worst.
They pulled the plug on him, and, he was dead November 5th, 1992. His dad said he was a great son. He'll never be forgotten. So that
is literally the worst thing I've ever witnessed, and I don't ever want to do it again, and I know I'm going to have to one day.
It's fucking horrible.
Because it does not they make it sound like pull the plug and it's over, and it's fucking not. Because your body struggles to live.
Yeah, it takes a long time,
man.
and it is fucking so sad. Shitty. It's very sad. Yeah, it's like keeping a fish out of water. And
right.
You're like, well, it'll die eventually. Right. When's it going to die? It's still flopping.
Right. That flop is awful. Every time it slaps the table, I want to fucking end myself.
Yeah. Oh, shit. It's awful. Yeah, you feel guilty. Mm-hmm. So he said that the coroner said the cocaine plus violent behavior plus being restrained all contributed to his death. 2-year-old daughter Dallas and his son Rodney at 6 he leaves behind. Yeah. His body was scraped badly from the fighting, but his family never believed he was the victim of any excessive force. They accepted the judgment of the doctors and said that he lapsed into cardiopulmonary arrest from the reaction to the cocaine, cut off his brain's oxygen supply, and that was the problem. They said that he said that Rod had been spending all his time with his kids. This is his brother Rick, and he says that he was, quote, for the most part clean, but obviously there was a few things going on in the last year that led to that night. He said that he'd been unsure what they were. He has said that Rod hadn't told him about the IRS problems, but he wouldn't doubt it.
That's a lot of pressure.
He said whatever was going on there, he kept it to himself. So the family said they heard various theories and stories from what actually happened and causes of death and all the everything, but they said nobody gave a shit. Rick said nothing's going to bring him back. I don't blame anybody. It was just a 10-year ordeal that ended badly. So that's it. They said his name at the time was not hung in the Hug High School Gym Hall of Fame there. And the athletic director said he was one of our best athletes, but we didn't want to send a mixed message to kids that he was someone to be admired and should be placed in an exalted position because of his drug use. Maybe people will feel differently now that he's dead. Jesus Christ.
But it's so silly. We can we separate the athlete from the crime? You know what I mean? When it's like that.
Well, and I like the way the cop put it, that Sergeant Means, he said, I think they're doing a disservice to the high school by not putting him up there. Yeah. What other way can you tell kids that this isn't a good thing to do? This guy was on top of the world, and this is how he ended up.
Right.
That's the way I look at it.
That's a great lesson to learn.
Give all the information first. Right. Yeah. The autopsy disclosed he died of a small hemorrhage within his brain after a cardiorespiratory collapse. A significant condition, the autopsy report said, was cocaine intoxication. Yep. So everybody, talks about him and what a great guy he is. His brother said Rod was down to earth. He was a good son, brother, and friend. He treated everyone with respect. He treated people equally. He did a lot to help the kids. Hey, it's for the kids. He always made visits at batting practices, signed autographs, and showed up every time he could. He loved his community. Chuck Tanner said, it's so sad. Rod was a good guy. He never got a chance to enjoy himself. He got in with the wrong people. The drugs just got a hold of him. Then he says, if Rod were born earlier or later, he'd be in the Hall of Fame. It was just a matter of the time he came up. It was a very lonely life on the road in professional baseball, and he was very introverted. He was a lovely human being. He had a heart of gold. And then we'll let Betty finish off that story, the mother, by saying, quote, I wish he'd never learned to throw that curveball. That's what she said.
Yeah, but there's
what are you going to do? It would have happened somewhere, yeah.
Yeah, and in Reno, the opportunity to get stuff like that is crazy.
It's fucking insane. His son, Rod Jr., is selected by the Rockies in the 31st round of the 2008 draft.
Great.
He's released by the Rockies in 2010. Okay. He pitched a couple years in the minor leagues, and that's about it. But still, he was signed by the Padres in 2010, then released in 2011. So he did some minor league stuff. Sure. He just said that it was a little bit hard because people would put him in with his dad. Yeah. He said, I'm not opposed to having a beer with the guys after the game, but what if I go over to the bar after the game and a scout who was at the game goes over there too? He might see me and go, oh, well, like father, like son. He said, if I were to get a DUI or something, my career would be over. No one would ever give me a chance after something like that with my family's background. So he's right. Yeah. He's right. That, everybody, is Rod Scurry. And like I said, if I got... if I maybe gave this guy a pass a little bit more than I give other people, it's only because it's just very familiar. By the way, he died at 36 years old, and Rod was also 36 when he died. That
is horrific.
So it's a lot of parallels for me. That was a kind of a hard one, but crazy shit though, man. That's crazy. That's what baseball was. I mean, if you can keep it together and get out there and have an ERA under 3, nobody really gave a fuck what you were doing.
Right.
Hold it together, man. That's it.
It just makes me feel bad because that guy probably, let's say he's a fucking an appliance mechanic. Yeah. If that guy has a bad day and tries Coke, the same shit happens to him. You know what I mean?
Same shit.
He just has an ability to, not an inability, I guess, to use it.
Yeah, well, he uses it well. He just doesn't, he's not good at it.
Right.
So, he's going to keep it together. It's like Bowfinger. Keep it together. Keep it together. Fucking Eddie Murphy. It's the same shit. So
you and 11 other people know that reference because nobody wanted to watch that movie.
It's a fucking great movie.
You love that movie?
It's great. Really? Have you ever watched it?
I think I watched a good portion of it and was
is great.
This is not Eddie Murphy.
Oh no, it's fantastic. Eddie, when he's 2 people in it, he's great. Steve Martin's, it's a fucking great movie. Very underrated movie.
I maybe have to give it another try because I hated it whenever I watched it.
You really should give it another shot. Just especially in hindsight, something about it now makes it better. Try it out. It's on, I don't remember, some
it's
fucking
streaming.
app. So,
I know it's there, yeah.
Anyway, that said, hope you enjoyed that show. Okay. If you did, get on whatever goddamn app you can and give us however many stars that you feel we deserve. So thank you for doing that. Yes. Also, shutupandgivememurder.com right now for all of your merchandise, all of your tickets to live shows. Next couple months, we got a few tickets left. A couple in Brea at the Brea Improv, a few in Seattle for the Thursday Seattle show. So there's a Friday one also. So get your tickets to all of that. That'll be a really good time. Come see us.
And thank you guys for buying these tickets 2 years in advance and hanging on.
We appreciate it.
It's really unbelievable. I don't know of much that I would do to hang on to whatever I was holding, and the fact that you guys did that for us is staggering, stunning, and mad humbling. Thank you. I can't wait to be there.
Definitely, and there might be a few tickets because the venue moved because the venue we were scheduled in Brooklyn is now not a venue anymore. Right. So that moved. I think there might be a few tickets available there because I think it's a slightly larger venue. So check on that.
It's the email that we got tonight says the Brooklyn show is sold out based on prior sales, even though it's a new location. So who knows?
All right, well, it's sold out. Who knows? So there you go.
It may be sold out, but check on it if you want to
check on it. Do that. Shutupandgivememurder.com. Patreon.com/crime and sports. My God, is it amazing this week. Really good stuff. First of all, it's everything you could want. First of all, anybody $5 or above gets access to everything, bonuses for small town murder and crime and sports. Anything we put out, you're going to get. This week's episodes are for Crime and Sports. We did the World Bodybuilding Federation,
we did.
Which is a lot of Vince McMahon going, oh, yeah. And while men pose,
verbalize a male orgasm. There it is.
That's the one. And I know how everybody out there seems to like us doing commentary on things. And we watched about 10 minutes of this shit and talked about it, and then just did a whole episode on the craziness that is trying to run a pay-per-view event to watch men pose. And then for Small Town Murders, we did maybe our most requested thing so far. We did the Scott Peterson case, and joke or not, whether his story held water. That's what it is, because a lot of people think he's innocent. Yeah. A lot of people think he's insanely guilty. A lot of people think he's insanely innocent. A lot of people think he's guilty but shouldn't have been convicted. So there's a lot of big range of this, and we go over it all, and it's really fucking cool. So check that out. If you've been wondering when you should do it, this is the week. Patreon.com/crime and sports. And you'll get a shout out as well, which we're going to do in just a moment. And if you just want to just get a shout out and have great karma, you can head over to PayPal and use our email address, crimeandsports@gmail.com. Yep. Matter of fact, you want to follow us or get a hold of us, you can use that email address. You could also use @crimeandsports on Twitter and Facebook, @smalltownmurder on Instagram. That said, Jimmy, God damn it, yeah. I need to hear the names of the people who would never, ever, ever take apart our television set because they thought there were snakes and listening devices in it. Jimmy, hit me with them now.
This week's executive producers are Ashton Martell. Happy birthday, by the way, Ashton.
Happy
Haley
birthday.
Howard. Yeah. And then also Jordan Bennett. Again, every week she's...
Thank you, Jordan. You're the best. You and Simon.
They're such nice people. And
good stuff.
They're going to come to live shows, they think, as
Can't
long
wait.
as Canada figures it out. I'm excited to see him. That's all.
Definitely.
Other producers are Heather Vogel. She likes my pop, is what she said. Emma Louise Smith and Jones had a birthday. Oh, it's her anniversary. Happy birthday. Happy anniversary, Emma. Happy birthday to your wedding.
Birth anniversary.
And Stephanie Jones, Lauren Sullivan, Shelley Roberts had a birthday. Happy birthday. Montana.
Happy birthday.
Cavane, I think, broke up with somebody, and
congratulations.
We're helping Montana through it, so be choosy.
You're going to be better.
Craig Ventura, Mary Grates, Ashley Powell, Dylan Harrison. Happy birthday, Dylan. Ashley
birthday.
Long from Peru, Steve Schnell, Alex Pressler had a birthday, and
birthday.
Blue Gill and Justin love you, evidently. Baron Miguel Cicluna and the Isle of Malta, James.
Yeah, that's the wrestler from an old wrestler.
Yeah. Douglas C. Niedermeyer, Sergeant of Arms. I think that's Animal House, yes?
That is Animal House. Yes, it is.
Dalton Durbin, Alice Mullen, Happy Hour in Boca Chica, Texas. That's his CB handle. So if you're out there looking for Happy Hour, he's out there. Dances with Vapes, Shitty Blue Tuxedo, Charles Ingalls, James Martyr, Corporal Carl Kirshner's daughter got a Cheer Up Bitch shirt, and she's jacked about it. Alexander Costell, Lindsay Adams, Shauna Lawrence, Mandy with no last name, Gabriel Gaines, Holly Evans, Abigail Harris, Nick Lassiter, Melissa Schweitzer, Karen Densler, Kelsey Spainhauer, Jeffrey Shrewsbury, Neil Baxter, Sarah Wickham, Emily Jones, Paul Dawson, Torch Crawler, McKenna Carter, Madison Mesky, I think, Sharon with no last name, also Bethany with no last name, Kelsey Holbert, Megan no last name, Jessica Olski, James.
Wolski.
Maria Wiedercare. Oh, boy. Ashley Ranch, Jennifer Fazel, Ashley with no last name, Jenna Ferguson, Nicholas Gordon, Maura Pinter, Dalen, no last name, Uncut Varl, whatever that is, Tanji, no last name, James Walsh, Daphne Bergenal, Alex Perez, Alexa Sage, The Swamp Dweller, Lisa Harris, Shane with no last name, Alex Sommerfeld, Darren Wilson, Laura Cartwright, Bruce McQuarrie, Sue Sharp, Thomas Mikichi, Vicky Curtis, Franziska Gotts, Cody Watson, Tess Garcia, Mary Rump, Rio with no last name, Kelsey Harper, Jason Garcia, Teresa Krebs, Keanu Coffey, Sarah Range, yes, Daniel Curtin, Samantha Olson, Dan O. That's Keith Minty, Calvin Simmons, Shelley Anderson, Heidi Lundquist, Merle's Girl. I hope so. What is this? Levander Bradshaw, I think. Maddie, Talecki. Kevin Gatto, Natalie Rondelay.
Tough day today.
This is brutal. Tanyelle with no last name. Renee Howerton. I hope that's Glenn's daughter.
You've given up like 4 runs through 3 1/3 here. This isn't going well.
My ERA is fucked. Brittany Hillsbury, Cassie Kitching, Marcus Sharoom, Derek with no last name, Mike Oxlong, Brandon Boiser. Oh boy. Brittany Midori.
Oh, Boiser.
Tyler Story, Fabian Ange, Al with no last name. He's the best, obviously, right?
You're the best, Al.
Miranda Woodall, Trout Mask, Eric Everett, Pamela Finger, Peter Stenland. Michelle Bollinger, Frankie Lewis, nope, that's Franklin Lewis Jr., Shane Peckham, Rebecca Kennedy, Zoe Worley, Cynthia McPherson, Austin Atterbury, Thomas Rose, Don Sherman, Claire Raywood, Gibson Ben in the U.S. Army, the Midnight Train podcast, Ty Oliver, S.H. Smolnick, Rachel D., Michael Billingsley, Chad Bennett, Parker Thompson, Samantha Quigley. She donates both ways. Thank you, Samantha.
Thank you.
Ivy with no last name, Meredith McDonald, Laverne Hoover, Tanya McDowell, Ricky Shreve, Sydney Davies, Valika, Courtney, Zoe Ann Wilson. Can't knock the hustle? Hell yeah. Kara Guitier. Guitar.
Says, I don't know.
Guitar, James. That's what that word is. Aaron Hurley. Heather Costas. Reagan De Silva. Kimberly Wagner. Oliver Stroud. And William Scott Cleary, Admiral Janeway, Jacob Jolly, Austin Lee, Emily Day, Jugs and Tugs, Brittany Bree Kim, Julia We're Below, Brett Nelson, Jennifer with no last name, Emily Pearson, William Streeter, Justin Autry, Catherine Brooks, Georgia Johansson, Ashley Rowland, Olivia Kaiser, Keith with no last name, Tina Caggiano probably. Kimberly, Sivananthan.
A tough night.
It's not.
The pitching coach just came out and talked to you, and they're like, "We'll keep an eye on him."
I'll
keep an eye on him.
Sander Westerberg, Penny Squadrino, Adam Funk, Chris Owens, Erica, and Mary Birch, Crazy Rollerson, Maria Radford, Maria Rye, Amy Walsh, Heather McCarthy, Nick Reed, Laura Whitworth, Rachel Vecchio. Tyga, what? McKay, Adam Philp, Aaron Webb, Kristen Simmons, R. Bobo, Autumn with no last name, Dean Jackson, John Marshall, Megan Stacy, Scott Gassot, Cecil Dubay, and Cody with no last name, and obviously all of our patrons. You guys are incredible. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you from the bottom of our cold, dead black hearts. We appreciate everything that you do for us. That is real. We can be shitheads on every other scale, but we really do appreciate everything you do for us and all the help you give us, and every damn dime is so appreciated. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And Jimmie, what if they wanted to find you and thank you from the bottom of their hearts? How could they find you?
I'm on the internet at Whisman Sucks. It's truly like a hot chick in a short dress. You guys are stunning. Thank you so much. Where can they find you, James?
You can find me at Jimmie P is Funny, or just copy and paste, or you know what you do, actually, just look up the show.
There it is.
Crime and Sports, we'll have our names on there. You can find us that way, and keep coming back every damn week for some crazy-ass stories, because we're never going to stop. We're never going to stop. You can't stop us, you son of a bitches, and don't even fucking try. That said, can only hope to contain us. Live from the Crime and Sports studios, we will see you next week.
Bye.
If you like Crime and Sports, you can listen early and ad-free now by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts. Prime members can listen early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Before you go, tell us about yourself by filling out a short survey at Wondery.com/survey.
A few miles from the glass spires of Midtown Atlanta lies the South River Forest. In 2021 and 2022, the woods became a home to activists from all over the country who gathered to stop the nearby construction of a massive new police training facility, nicknamed Cop City.
At approximately 9 o'clock this morning, as law enforcement was moving through various sectors of the property, an individual, without warning, shot a Georgia State Patrol trooper.
This is We Came to the Forest, a story about resistance.
The abolitionist mission isn't done until every prison is empty and shut down.
Love and fellowship.
It was probably the happiest I've ever been in my life.
And the lengths we'll go to protect the things we hold closest to our hearts. Follow We Came to the Forest on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can binge all episodes of We Came to the Forest early and ad-free right now by joining Wondery Plus.